Hello, everyone in DBDLeague. That is me, Prion. I am back to cast the Winter Circuit for you. It's so good to be back here casting DBDLeague once again, and it's really been a while since the All Hallows League. So today, I'm glad to be joined by my co-caster Mathis here for this qualification match. Mathis, why don't you introduce yourself and we can start talking through the sets.
Yo. Just kidding. Hello, everybody. Or as I usually like to intro my casting, welcome back, everybody, to the now second matchup we've got prepared in DBDLeague's Winter Circuit of 2025. It's been a good half year since the last time I've casted, so it's been a while. Prion's definitely got much more used to it than I have, or currently is much better warmed up than I am, but should only take about a game or two for me to get back into the swing of things if I don't succeed right from the get-go. But keep our hopes high. I'm pretty sure I still got it, considering I've been doing this for pushing, we're getting to 4 years. Well, started in 2021 August, so we're getting there. It's like 3.5 now. But yeah, today we've got Rapture and Archon. Prion, what do you know about these teams personally? I've taken a couple of notes on it, but I would very much first be interested in hearing what you've got to say about them.
Yeah, so with these two teams, Rapture and Archon, I would have to say that Rapture is probably the more well-known and established of these two European teams. But Archon is definitely not to be counted out. They've been, as we talked about a little bit ago, they've been around for a pretty long time. They may not have had as many relevant placements as Rapture has in the last year or so, but they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. A lot of names that you might recognize on both teams here.
Archon sort of gives that's a credit that we have to take, because that is one of the teams we, I want to say, discovered or scout during our scouting services in the Scrim Nights, because that's the first appearance they've made in DBDLeague was last year during the Scrim Nights. They also participated in the Weekend Cup, where they unfortunately didn't make it past the group stage. So, and they also didn't participate in AHL, but they're back for this tournament now. But they have been quite successful in their Scrim Nights, especially in the most recent one, which is also the most recent upload to our YouTube channel, is the Scrim Night they had against Team Meadow, where they were extremely successful, beating Team Meadow with a 5-0. So they're packing something, especially because they've been quite successful in previous tournaments. So I'm expecting them to, even if Rapture are quite favored here, I'm expecting them to take at least one stage here, maybe even more, maybe even come out on top. Because Archon, yeah, as Prion's already pointed out, I absolutely would not count them out. And also it's quite funny to point out with these two teams, since I've sort of got personal attachments to them on both of them. So I personally started playing in 2021, and funny enough, my first ever top team was also called Archon, which is not at all this Archon. So the Archon of 2021, that was some of the more OG players might know these names, but everybody's going to know one of the names that I'm about to drop. So in that team I played with Lucas Sway, so the streamer YouTuber that probably everybody knows in the DBD community. And also other very well-known killers like Vlas, or also other players like Lunas, Keegan, so on. So yeah, but this is a completely different team. They've just decided to take this name because I don't expect many people to still remember the team from 2021. And I played for Archon in Season 6 in DBDLeague, so also 4 years ago. And I played against Agony, so meaning I played against Ryan, whom we are also going to see today on Team Rapture. Which is also the very first, no, I think that was the second game I played in Season 6 back then. Yeah, that was against Agony. So I've played against Ryan, and I've practically played for Archon, even though it's a completely different team, but the same name. I can imagine they're both based on the song, or that's at least what the 2021 team was based on, the song by Harper called Archon. So I it's like rap, maybe you've heard of it. But yeah, it's super interesting to see. I'm really happy that I have these personal attachments to both of these names, at least, or at least some of the players. But yeah, talking about personal attachments, also one of the players on Team Rapture, a new addition that's now going to be playing for the first time in DBDLeague. Sadly, however, not today, because our dear Luxio, who was formerly on Team Eclipse, so the team that I currently play for. He's now moved on to Rapture, but sadly he's not had great internet connection for the past about a month, so he's not been able to practice much. But he'll if Rapture win this game, he will certainly be back for the upcoming matches. So if you wanna root for Luxio to come back, because I did see that he was extremely popular during the last tournament when he played for Eclipse. People were amazed at his Survivor performance, especially against the Hillbilly that Team Eclipse played against. So yeah, he'll be back in the coming weeks. Sadly, he won't be playing today, but fantastic player. People have been looking forward to seeing more of him. Sadly, missing out on it today. But if they are successful, Luxio will, Rapture will at least play 2 more matchups, because our main bracket will be double elimination, only qualifiers being single elimination. So yeah, we've got a lot of big names for both of these teams. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. And yeah, Prion, you want to get started on talking about the killers that we're about to witness?
Yeah, so why don't you start us off by explaining to chat what the first killer of the set is?
Oh yeah, that's also funny enough another personal attachment, because the first ever game I saw in comp was the Best of the Best tournament in 2020, when we had Seiko for Team Prisma, who's also now a good friend of mine, played against Invincible Kitten's Survivor roster as Spirit on Dead Dog Saloon. So that is a very interesting pick, because I personally consider that to be one of Spirit's much weaker maps. The constant up and down elevation, probably not the greatest for her. The only thing she kind of is going for is the size of the map. Would you agree with that, or is there something you'd see other?
It's definitely an extremely strong map for Spirit. While Spirit is a 110 killer, kind of struggles with mobility. If she really wants to have mobility, she has to sacrifice that extremely strong chase power that she has, the phasing. But on Dead Dog Saloon, that's really not so much of an issue. A lot of the palettes are 50-50s, and the end-to-end sort of the map is really not as large as many of the other maps in the game. So Spirit is probably a very strong killer on Dead Dog Saloon. I'm excited to see it. Should be really interesting.
Yeah, I just remember that my friend back then struggled, or Seiko on the Spirit struggled quite a bit, because at the time he was, or everybody in Best of the Best was forced to record their games, and he was playing on a pretty old laptop, so he was running on 30 FPS and somehow still got, I think, 6 stages, but compared to what was expected at the time was a very poor result. But yeah.
Yeah, so after Spirit on Dead Dog Saloon, we will be going over to Hillbilly on Cowshed, and that is not a map that we have seen in a very long time.
Oh, absolutely. The classic meme of come 1v1 Cowshed, that's thankfully died out, because that is absolutely not the map that you ever really 1v1'd on in comp. It used to be that meme, because it's funny because of the alliteration, come Cowshed. And I find it really surprising here, because Rapture's pick was Spirit, and Archon were the ones that picked set number 2, which is the Hillbilly on Cowshed. And the reason why I'm pointing out my surprise with that is the fact that the last time we've seen Archon play Billy, in DBDLeague at least, was when they were 4K'd on 4 generators left by Insomnia's Hillbilly player Garafa. So that was a couple months ago, and I feel like, based on what we're also going to get into with the other killers that we're going to see today, I find it really surprising, and I'm expecting here that Archon I believe that Archon must have fundamentally changed their roster or perspective of the game, because I would have imagined that Hillbilly would be one of their weaker killers, looking at them going through the pick and bans. I'm really surprised they ended up picking him here, but I'm really looking forward to see what they've got to offer.
Yeah, it should be a really interesting game. Cowshed is a very interesting map nowadays. There's really not a lot going on. Everything is very spread out. The main building is still strong. There's still strong areas near the shack and the cow tree, but honestly, that's about it. So it should be very interesting. I can't wait to see what happens. And the next set is pretty heavily contrasted with the Hillbilly. It's going to be the Wraith on Hawkins, and that was Rapture's pick. I'm not really sure what's going to go down there, because, I mean, Wraith, it's a very strong killer in competitive specifically. Like, it's a very specific comp killer. Your Wraiths in your public games, they might be a little bit weak, but Wraith in competitive is way scarier. These players grind 1v1s all day, every day with Wraith, and they are
Yeah.
extremely good at that killer. But also, you have the weird map in Hawkins where there's so many like areas of that map that are extremely bad to play as Wraith, but it's also a stealth killer and you won't be able to see him coming, and it's just going to be really interesting all around. So many variables at play in that set.
Yeah, Wraith, shout out to our ladder players. Go Wraith Trapper, go bro, go. Because they really don't like picking anything else. And that's also going to be our first tier 5 killer. So we've got, if you want to see our balancing, then please head on over to the DBDLeague Discord. We've got fantastic designs on display for you to go through the individual balance channels for our killers. And we've got Spirit and Hillbilly tier 1 ranked. The tiers doesn't really correlate with what you'd put them on a tier list with. It's just to put them into perspective more easily. So we're moving on from 2 tier 1 killers that have some sort of restriction on the killer side and hardly any on the survivor side. And then we're moving on to a tier 5 killer with Wraith, where practically no perks are allowed for the survivor sides, or most of them are banned to say the least. Or most of the good ones. They are obviously still going to be able to run before each. It's we've got, but on that note, we might see something else because we do have special balancing sets. The same way we did in our previous tournaments. Yeah, Wraith, difficult to talk about, really. And then we're moving on to Archon's pick being Blight. Blight I'm also really interested in seeing because Rapture were able to take one set off Elysium in the last tournament, and it happened to be Blight, with their player Crow basically specializing in this killer. So also interested in seeing, if we even get to that point, what Archon have up their sleeves, because personally I'd say that is basically giving Rapture a set, considering how strong they are on the Blight. So I feel like they have to win 2 of these first 3 sets if they want to go to tiebreaker, which is going to be Houndmaster. Don't want to get anyone's hopes up here, because it's not, usually we don't really go all the way with 5 sets. Still likely, might happen. But yeah, we're gonna see how that turns out. Houndmaster would be super interesting to see. We haven't yet. But many teams have picked her, many teams have taken a liking to her, and I'm looking forward to seeing different teams play her and demonstrate different playstyles with them as well. So yeah, we are also very close to loading into our first game. Prion, have you got any predictions right off the get-go, since that's the only thing we haven't covered yet?
Any predictions? I would say probably Rapture 3-1 would be my prediction. That's really all I can say. I haven't seen Archon in quite a while. But I know that they are a good team. But it looks like we are already into the game here, as it's going to be Fasty on the Spirit, starting out with the Phase, and a very interesting build here. Some perks that you might not think you would see on such a strong killer like Spirit.
Also, we must be twins, because I agree with that 3-1 statement you made. Yeah, Dragon Script, really interesting, especially powerful on killers like Spirit that have the ability to phase right back after having left a general area with quite a big distance in between. Basically, you go to that generator, which has got high progress, you kick it, and then you pretend to not care about it anymore, even though you know there's someone sneaking nearby, and the moment it's touched, you immediately phase back and catch that survival off guard, securing an instant down on whoever has just touched it. We also see a very early chase here on Everyday Pizza, rocking the police outfit, trying to get that early down. It's usually whenever Spirit claims that first hit, it's very easy to get that second, and Fasty demonstrates just how, because the moment that survivor's injured, there's so many more sound cues that you can listen to, so much more feedback from the survivors that you get in order to pinpoint their exact location down. And yeah, Fasty already claiming that first down of the game ridiculously quickly.
And that hook is in a really good spot for the Spirit as well. So immediately putting Everyday Pizza right in the middle of the map here, and it looks like we've already got a gen being doubled, going to be completed here by Nova, and now going to be Ace in chase across the map. Actually, no, this is over by the Gallows area here. Deceptively difficult area for this Spirit to chase in, as a 110 killer does not want to commit to the Ace there. As you can see, he immediately starts healing. Now it looks like going back towards the main building. Nova in chase on the Tori. New survivor here. Very cool to see. But looks like Fasty doesn't really want to leave this area. Suspicious that the survivors are planning some sort of save. Ace in the distance is going to heal. So if they are able to get this survivor off the hook before she reaches the second stage, these survivors are going to be in a pretty good spot. They've completed one generator so far. Now another hit is going to be coming in here onto Nova.
One thing that's also pretty unique about Spirit is that's probably the only killer where individual pieces of clothing on survivors matter, because some of them have certain responses when it comes to sound. Some of them do make sound, some of them are silent completely, or also numb the sounds of footsteps and so on. And I'm not seeing anything in particular here on the side of Team Archon. We might see something on Rapture in the upcoming trial. Everyday Pizza already going down a second time, but we do see that Decisive Strike giving him a second chance at the trial and immediately crouching nearby, trying to probably go down on a pallet, since he doesn't really have any perks that would aid him in the situation, but he somehow managed to win the battle there, even though our killer should have heard him immediately off the Decisive Strike. Also, none of the perks are going to matter a lot here in this upcoming chase. Maybe Plot Twist if Everyday Pizza manages to get it off in time. Plot Twist also one of the new additions we've made to our balancing, one of the major perks that are going to tremendously influence playstyles too. Because the way you usually use it, or would probably use it in pubs, is where you hide in some sort of corner and activate Plot Twist while you're injured, so you can basically heal yourself. It's an alternative self-care. If you're not running a medkit, you're just using that perk. But it becomes really unique in comp, because if you use Plot Twist, the moment you're about to get downed while in chase, the killer is forced to pick you up and cannot slug you, because if they slug you, they risk you picking yourself up and losing all the pressure immediately once that survivor picks themselves back up. So it can become extremely powerful if our killer tries to go for several slugs, or just trying to focus on the tunnel out and then tries to hit the person that's trying to prevent the tunnel out from happening. And then either you pick them back up, or you risk basically not getting any value out of that. Or also it's just in later stages of the game where you're trying to go for a 3-man slug, 2-man slug, depending on how many survivors are left. So yeah, a perk with a lot of utility, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if we get any value from it. The instant for the people buy Fats onto Everyday Pizza. You're trying to keep that survivor in the trial for longer, but that hit will immediately come through, meaning our survivor will probably be spotted quite quickly.
Yeah, very interesting decision there from Everyday Pizza, opting not to drop the shack pallet. And when you're the tunnel out, you've already used Decisive Strike, your team is cranking generators, and you're going over to this area to die. Why would you not drop the shack pallet there? It's still up with 2 generators to go. That is an incredibly powerful resource that could allow your team to finish those last 2 gens, and it's just still standing now. So big mistake there, in my opinion, from the survivors. Going to result in the 3v1 already. Now they have an injured survivor at the water tower. Pallet goes for, I think that was a live, but it's just not going to work out. And it's going to be Mr. Next Time down on the ground. Basti opting to slug now as the main building gen is done. Inner healing going to be charged here by Nova, and this survivor has Unbreakable. So the survivor's not out of this just yet. It's going to be Fats here trying to stealth. Not sure if they want Mr. Next Time to use his Unbreakable yet, and right as I say that, he is going to get up off the ground and make it over to the area where these survivors want to be chasing, all the way back by the gallows, away from all of the gens. And just remember, survivors, shack pallet still exists, but best place to run here for Mr. Next Time. He's able to drop that pallet before the phase comes out, and now Spirit is forced to 1v1 on this pallet as a 110 killer until the phase comes back. Phase coming out now, listening for where this ace is, and she is going to make the correct read. That's Eruption down onto the water tower gen. Pick up there coming in. This is going to be a fresh hook, though, in an area that the Spirit can't defend. And the last generator is already being doubled here. Survivors in a great spot. They might be able to get this before the hook comes in. Right as the hook comes in, it's right next to the gen that they're trying to do, but they're going to commit to it. That's going to probably be Fats going down here. The injured survivor runs back in to try to dodge the phase, and it looks like, actually, Basti is going for the healthy survivor.
The lunge also decisively did not connect there, and neither does it on the shack pallet here. Unfortunately, not running enough Twitch streams in the background here, not going to make the ping worse for our Survivor side. Huge moments here that Fast was not able to get any pressure from both of those survivors, popping the gen right next to that acquired hook stage onto Mr. Next Time. I was expecting this endgame to take much longer, especially also considering that Nova was setting up for it slowly with that totem cleanser for the healing, which is usually used to set up if you set up longer stages of a trial, but this looks like it could be a 6-stage 2-mana staple, which would be quite ridiculous considering that down or that kill on Everyday Pizza came in so quickly, considering the down at 5 generators remaining also occurred that early into the trial. But yeah, we already see Fasti only finding Nova here on the already open exit gate, finding that first escape. That's the first 3 stages out the gate. Mr. Next Time is healing himself. He might even go back for Fats. Or just trying to sneak around. However, this survivor, our ace player, Mr. Next Time, has already been hooked once. So it would be more beneficial to Team Archon if Fats made it out of the game. And it might be Mr. Next Time just wasting time until Fats crawls out. No, we see him take this window of opportunity, lies straight through that main building window in order to make it out the gate. Fats crawling in the general direction of the hatch spawn, which is right next to, or the backside of Shaq here, only a couple yards away, but unfortunately, rather obviously, our killer will be expecting exactly this to happen. Picks up Fats, and that is going to render the 7 stages 7-stage result for our Spirit player. You see with Everyday Pizza, dead on hook, Fats, and joining him now in, I was about to say heaven, but this is the realm of the entity, no one truly dies. And Mr. Next Time escaping with 1 stage remaining, 1 stage on his counter. So that's 5 stages out the gate. Pretty impressive results considering we had such an oppressive early game exerted by Fasti.
Yeah, impressive result from the survivors, especially against a strong killer like the Spirit on a small map like Dead Dog Saloon. But honestly, Mathis, I feel like it could have been better for the survivors. I think Fasti is lucky to have more than 6 stages at all out of that game.
I was gonna say it was at least going to be 6 stages, considering that late hook occurred right next to that doubled up generator, but him missing a hit on both of those survivors, neither lunges connecting on the one injured person and the healthy person, and then also committing to the one healthy person. That's kind of pushed the momentum back to, or that not just kind of, that definitely pushed the momentum back into the hands of our survivor squad, which should have been a 4-man slug right then and there if that uninjured survivor would have been down, because that would have been 2 survivors basically out of the trial and only 1 survivor or one man last standing in the trial, which Fasti would have immediately seen based on scratch marks, also vocal cues on that generator, where he should have heard or should have seen both survivors right from the get-go the moment that hook occurred. But I'm pretty sure he was greeting a bit there with the hook as well, carrying our survivor for such a long distance all the way to that one generator he knew was a lot of progress on, to sort of choke out the pressure they had built up to that point. As a hook next to the furthest progress gen would basically nullify all that progress, because all the Spirit needs to do at that point is just wait between the gen and the hook, and the survivors can interact with neither, and then they'd have to find a new resource to get started on. Yeah, that would have been very different if Fasti had not greeted for that hook, would have gone for one that was much closer, but also would have been much different if Fasti had secured that hook stage next to that far generator and they hadn't popped it in time. So yeah, that pain resonance ban that we have on tier 1 killers, including Spirit, really coming in clutch here, because otherwise this trial would have gone completely different.
Yeah, and you really can't blame the killer for going for that play of hooking next to the generator with the most progress. That's almost always the best play for a killer when you want to like make a comeback when the survivors have a lot of progress on a specific generator. Maybe it's the last generator of the game. Getting a hook next to that gen and then kicking it is always a huge comeback play for a killer. It's just a few seconds just were not on the Spirit's side there. They were able to complete the generator, and then things went out of control from there. So Archon's Spirit player now is going to have this 7-stage win condition to meet. It's definitely doable here for a killer as high tier as Spirit on a map like Dead Dog Saloon, but at what we've been shown from this first half of the trial, is that maybe when the spirit is affected by these tier 1 perk bans, there's a lot more room for the survivors to maybe get some outs.
Oh yeah, absolutely, but we still can't forget that that's only the first part of it. Of course, those are definitely the strongest perks a killer could bring, including... I have it written down. Oh yeah, Spirit. So no Pain Resonance, no Grim Embrace, and no Deadlock. And that's basically where it ends. You could bring everything else. So Eruption is most likely going to be used the most, as we also did in the previous trial. Then also with that Agitation and the Dragon Script. Also, we didn't really see any value out of that Dragon Script, so maybe our upcoming Killer Everyday Pizza will have something to say about that. Maybe use a completely different build, because that's really what perk restrictions enable, is this variety in different approaches to a matchup. Also considering that we have teams pick a map from a pool of 3. So depending on the map, there's going to be largely varying strategies attached to them. As should be quite obvious, especially if we would. It becomes quite easy if we compare, let's say, Wraith either has to play on Call Tower or has to play on Hawkins. One is an indoor map, the other one's open, so the approaches would be completely different. The Survivors have a completely different sense of information that they have to fight for on those individual maps. With Hawkins, it becomes much scarier, especially when we look at top team performances against killers like Ghostface on Larry's, where you basically have it so if you have no information on the killer, no one sits on a gen and everyone camps a pallet until you get that definite information on a killer. And yeah, with Dead Dog Saloon, there's going to be a lot of line of sight breaks, and Spirit becomes a lot scarier, not just inside the face, but also outside of, since it's going to be a bit more difficult to pinpoint her exact location and the direction also she's coming from. But yeah, many tiles to play with, and Dead Dog, one of my absolute personal favorites, since it's just consistent map generation that makes it so lovely. You always have the exact same locations for Shack, the houses, the windmill, or the water tower, sort of both, and the main building. The consistency is just amazing to see. It's a lot of fun to play on, especially if you put a lot of practice in and then develop that game sense for the map. But yeah, I digress. So yeah.
Yeah, so interesting information coming in from our statistical analyst, Toby. Fasty in this last trial actually had the fastest down of the day by far. The only first down to happen in less than a minute in all of the trials that we've played today. So congratulations to Fasty there. But also, I'm a little bit not as surprised because this is the Spirit. We didn't exactly see a lot of S tier killers on the Spirit's level in the last trial with Silence and Ascent. So definitely good Spirit play coming out from Fasty. That fast down, that fast tunnel out. But I'm also not really that surprised that it was the Spirit getting that fast down, especially when you can get an M1 hit on a survivor and then be able to track them while they are injured in the phase. So looks like we are going to be going into the second half of the trial now. It's going to be Spirit player for Archon needs to get 8 stages he needs to get 8 stages. And I'm pretty sure the previous result was 7 stages, 3 fresh. So 8 stages is going to be the win con here for Archon.
Spot on, and also with the killers that we're looking at with between Archon and Rapture, I almost want to call this a more conservative matchup that we've got between both of these teams, because these first 4 killers, at least, that we're looking at are already very well established characters in especially also competitive Dead by Daylight, with only Houndmaster being that odd one out, if we even make it that far. So yeah, definitely these are all killers that our teams should be well accustomed to, unlike the Dracula or the Dark Lord that we saw in the previous trial. Shouldn't even call him Dracula, because I myself am a firm dog enjoyer that exclusively plays the dog form and just goes for M1s and pubs. But yeah, now we've got Everyday Pizza on the Spirit representing Team Archon with the same build. Yeah.
Interesting choice here, or we'll have to see if Dragon's Grip actually gets any value, since it came up empty last game.
You heard me talk about it.
Yep. But looks like Everyday Pizza here going to the furthest point away from where he started, and he's going to immediately find a survivor here. Wild swing there. That was a hard read onto the Kate. He almost got it though. Like, very good prediction there. Just, if he had waited a little bit longer after coming out of the phase, that would have been a free hit. He does get the hit anyway. Kate immediately running towards Shaq. Smart play there from her. Immediately drops there. Great survivor play from Game Over. Knows what kind of trouble she is in against the Spirit while injured. And now looking to play in this Gallows area on these unsafe filler pallets. Phase coming out, and it's actually going to be Everyday Pizza winning that mind game there before the pallet drop can come in. And he's actually also going to sniff out a survivor that was nearby for a potential pallet set.
And that's also the big difference here in decision-making between both of these teams. You know, that's something you criticized in the previous trial, is that our first tunnel out Everyday Pizza opted not to go for Shack Pellet at all during his entire 3 chase, during his entire tunnel out. Not even when he was dead on hook. And now we see Game Over rushing to Shack Pellet right from the get-go to just win that extra momentum in the early stages of the game. Practically textbook anti-spirit or textbook survivor spirit gameplay, where you see that before you're injured, you try to play the pallet, and the moment you get injured, all you do is hold W to the corner as far away as possible from your teammates. So also Game Over, forgot to mention, that's also one of those players that have only recently come back. I feel like I've not seen him play for Rapture yet, may have already played before. But that's also one of the players that have practically been around forever, an OG of DBD comp that took about a 1-year break, I want to say, because I haven't seen him for the longest time, but it's fantastic to see him once again back on the roster for Team Rapture. So Everyday Pizza now claiming that second stage of the game, 2 generators already popped, and unlike previous games, we're not tunneling out that decisive strike player, which is going to be very important for that first tunnel out. All our killer needs is basically 2 kills, and then the rest of the game should speak for itself before that last generator pops, because then it should realistically be impossible to out this game with less than 8 stages.
Rapture is in a pretty good spot here, Mathis. I was going to say that, they gave 2 free hits to the Spirit while Game Over was still on hook, but they were able to pop 2 generators and then heal off both of those injuries. So now, if they leave Game Over on the hook until the last second and have 2 survivors cranking different generators while one goes for the save, they're going to be looking pretty good here going into the late game, as long as they are able to get Game Over off his hook so that he can have one more chase, maybe at the main building or again in the corner by Gallows. They're going to be pretty close to the end game here. So we see Fasty doing this mid-street gen down by the main building. Game Over still on the hook for probably about 15 more seconds. I'm not sure if they have anybody coming in for the save. It doesn't look like they do. Ryan going to finish the generator there, move over to double with another survivor, and Game Over is going to die on hook. They are putting all of their eggs into the basket of finishing the generators here, as now Everyday Pizza checking on this mid-street gen, and Renato, Fasty going to complete it in his face, knows that the survivors might be doubling this generator here, going to check it, and that you're not going to be able to complete it in time. That's going to be Dragon's Grip. Potential value here applied to that last generator. It is going to hit it with the Dragon's Grip. Nazon exposed for, I think, a whole minute here, and now he has to play this 4 lane. He does have the line.
It does have it. This is exactly when Dragon's Grip becomes such a crucial
but the Husk blocking. The Husk blocks the pallet and completely nullifies that Lithe. That is so unfortunate for Nazon. You would think that they would know about the whole Husk blocking thing. So many high-level Spirit players rely on that to play pallets. But that's going to be the exposed down onto the ace. Ryan taking a hit with the flashlight there. Potentially was hovering for a save. But also, it's not over yet for the survivors. Fasty has started a generator off in the distance, one that's very far away from the hook.
Now, I also find the system approach that Rapture have on the survivor side to this trial really fascinating. They were really focused on having that 2 split on the generators at all times, allowing them to pop 4 generators this quickly. And also, I'm pretty sure that Ryan's attempt there for flashlight save was a pretty desperate measure, considering our survivor was already downed with Dragon Script so quickly, and he was trying to win the momentum back for the survivor side, basically ensuring the win if that flashlight save had gone off. But Everyday Pizza knew better and found our survivor right away after checking for just a mere, I think it was 2-3 seconds until Ryan was spotted behind that wall. I almost thought also that if the moment Ryan got injured, that practically Archon won this first set, considering all he needed was to down Ryan, and then he would have had 2 survivors incapacitated, and then only 1 fast cross map on another generator. But yeah, it seems like our killer is also going for the individual stages here instead of really trying to find his tunnel out once again, as our survivors are split on 2 generators, basically on the polar opposites of each corner of the map here. So Rapture have successfully regained the momentum in this game, restored the momentum in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they manage to continue it, as Everyday Pizza also finds the only healthy player, which is just going to make the struggle so more desperate.
Yeah, there was really going to be no tunnel out onto Nazan there. And actually, he's going to go down once again. Was that another Dragon's Grip?
Yeah.
Insane value from the Dragon's Grip for Everyday Pizza, but it's not going to be able to stop these generators from being done. Nazan was able to escape after his first hook with the second wind there, buying his team so much time. And that's going to be the last generator done. We've got 1 survivor dead, 1 survivor with 2 hooks on him. And if these 2 healthy survivors escape, then that is going to be the win for Rapture. I mean, they're not healthy. I mean, they're fresh survivors.
Yeah, that's the predicament they're in right now, because if either of these survivors are found,
Ryan going for the plot twist.
If Fasti is found now, it's basically GG, because that's a fresh stage, and Team Rapture have to successfully pull off a phenomenal two-man save here on the survivor if Everyday Pizza manages to claim another hook onto Fasti, the only realistic person it would be now. But yeah, all he needs to do now is find 1 more survivor if Nazan does end up dying, and it seems like they are playing this game of attrition, or this war of attrition here, considering Fasti is just hiding behind a tree in the corner of the map, while Ryan is going for the pickup. Oh, he's trying to sneak to the gate.
He's trying to sneak to the 99 here. He's waiting to get up, and that's how he's going to stealth towards the gate without the spirit seeing him from far away. So Nazan is going to die.
Amazing.
The play here from Ryan is that he wants to stand up next to the gate abruptly while the spirit is looking somewhere else, but she's actually going over towards where Ryan's crawling. But survivors with plot twists don't make injured noises on the ground, Mathis. That is the big thing here. So Ryan in the grass here, going to be pretty invisible to Everyday Pizza, inching closer and closer to that gate here. And once Ryan stands up, then Fasti is also going to get on the other gate, but they both have to escape here. So ideally, Ryan is going to be the one that wants to get found, and then I think ideally Ryan will run either to hatch or to Fasti's gate. If Fasti is the one that gets chased here, it's over for Rapture.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big idea of this play they are preparing and about to unleash. This could not be more exciting. This is pure cinema that we are spectating here. Ryan is now in position, picks himself up, immediately gets on that gate. Everyday Pizza should have seen him there, but didn't. Maybe he's aware of the play here. He does see Ryan on that gate. No, he does decide to face straight over now, but Ryan's got that sprint burst fast. He starts opening that gate a bit late. He may have seen it coming, but he doesn't see the light illuminate.
Everyday Pizza is a little bit indecisive here. He should have been able to see Fasti. Looks like he's suspicious of the injured survivor, Mathis, but he's actually going to end up chasing Ryan instead.
He is exhausted, so Ryan's not going to make much distance here. He's trying to get to the hat, but that gate is just not open yet. And this phase should seal the deal. If he lands it on him,
done with the gate, it's open.
That's it.
And yeah, that's it. Wow. Ryan not going to make the hatch, and that's going to be Archon going up 1-0 in this stretch. Very nicely done by Everyday Pizza.
Great attempt here also by the Rapture survivors. Absolutely phenomenal idea. being that resourceful and that prompt on that plot twist play was a phenomenal idea, one that I never even considered. That you could just use plot twist for the stealth aspect of it as well, considering you're on the ground, you crawl to that exit gate, and they're both open it simultaneously. And they also played around the fact that Fasti cannot be spotted at all, and it would have to be Ryan with that sprint burst, who has to make it all the way to that gate on this almost the same side of the map here, but it's just so far away, and it was an extremely close call there to make. What really should have happened there is that Ryan gets that sprint burst in combination with that injury, so basically like a double sprint burst, somehow makes it to the gate, but he would have still been forced to avoid an entire phase while injured, no matter what, unless he had forced a full phase being used on his healthy state already. But Fasti unfortunately wasn't fast enough, considering that Everyday Pizza was smelling something in the air there and wasn't exactly sure what that, or wasn't convinced that Ryan would be the only one trying to make an attempt on one of the exit gates there. Also did see Fasti on that gate, but luckily blended in with the yellow shirt he was wearing, and somehow also didn't see that first light illuminate, despite the fact that it was very obviously bright red already. But yeah, very lucky at first, which could have played out super well for Team Rapture, but Everyday Pizza did not make that mistake, did not fall for the bait, and ended up getting Ryan based on just a phase.
Yeah, and Mathis, let's talk a little bit about this killer player that I think we're going to be seeing playing most of the killers for Archon today, Everyday Pizza.
Yep.
This is somebody that I've been seeing in a lot of like amateur level comp tournaments for a long time now, and has definitely been grinding to get his chance on the big stage. And I've actually played against Everyday Pizza in more than a few amateur comp events.
Tell me more about
with
that.
like various teams that I've played on, and he has always been an incredibly solid player. Every match that I've played that he's been in has been incredibly difficult, and he has a very wide killer pool as well. So I'm excited to see how he can do today in these qualification matches.
Yeah, variety killers have certainly become the meta in Comp DBD, I would say, have been for the past roughly 2 years, because before that you would usually have 2 to 3 killer players per team that will take on specific roster of killers that they feel comfortable with, whose abilities also sort of whose abilities are relatively similar to one another. Or you'd also just have people that are just really comfortable with so-called S-tier killers. So you would have one player take on Blight, Spirit, Nurse, and then you'd have someone else do most of the M1 killers. But with modern comp, it's become extremely common that you have one person take up all the killers, or what we also call just variety killer players. And I'm pretty sure the first one that we've really seen do that mostly was Whizzle, because that's what he used to do for Trauma, except for Nurse. That's also always the one killer that Fallen Out would play for him. But Whizzle was the first real variety killer that was very well known for Spirit, Blight, and all of the M1 killers. Whizzle would play practically every killer for Trauma, except for that Nurse that they would have Fallen Out on, the 10,000 hour Nurse main that most comp players dread that played back in the day. And yeah, Everyday Pizza is evolving into one of these variety killers that deserve to be talked about, as we've just seen another fantastic performance by the Spirit, one that was easily sufficient to overpower Rapture's result on that killer side that they pulled off prior to that. And Everyday Pizza, as you said it, I see this name a lot now, and not only because the name's funny is the fact that he sticks to your mind, but also sticks to your memory, but also his performances are extremely consistent. And he's actually putting up quite a bit of resistance against a team that is definitely within the top 10 range of that barely didn't make it to the immediate main bracket that we have set up for our select 8 teams. So Rapture were basically on the verge of making it themselves, but ended up being pushed to the qualifiers and are now facing off against Archon. Also, Archon is a purely German team, so want to talk about ping advantage here, because people like to clown about our German players since they live so close to the Frankfurt server. But Rapture themselves are also mainly European-based, scattered about, and with a few German players of their own, but their captain/captains both being from the United Kingdom, Ryan and Flix. Flix we also haven't seen yet, which I found a bit surprising considering he is one of their main roster players. Maybe we'll see him in an upcoming trial, but yeah, we're already back with our Hillbilly set, and previously we've seen not the greatest, or at least in our Scrim Nights, we haven't seen the greatest performance by Archon's Hillbilly, but I'm imagining this must have changed fundamentally considering the superior performance we just saw by them on the Spirit side.
Yeah, so first chase already starting here. Everyday Pizza and Ryan here in chase at one of these interesting cold wind variant tiles that is relatively new to the game as of a couple months. Ryan now going to one of his trusty hay bale fillers. Chainsaw coming up. Everyday Pizza going for the curve. Going to overshoot it there as Brian able to dodge out. It looks like he actually held W to Shaq. And Everyday Pizza going to be leaving here, going over towards another gen to try to make use of his Hex-based build here. He's got Ruin, Undying, Thrill of the Hunt. So very totem-heavy build here, along with the Bamboozle. Interesting choice. Outlet Break going to come out there. Fasty not taking any chances there. Big curve comes out, but not really aiming at anything there. I'm not sure what that was for. But now, Chase going to main. This is a very strong pellet, probably going to be instantly dropped. Yeah, you want to respect the chainsaw of the Hillbilly there. Overdrive, dissipates, goes for another curve, and nice pathing there from Fasty, but now he's in danger of getting back rep.
Oh, ping! He managed to get it. Fasty will be able to get that drop. That was interesting with the totem build, but what really else do you want to run on Hillbilly? You really want to focus on the chases themselves and sort of let your perks do the work for you, especially with Hillbilly, a killer that's able to traverse the map so quickly and get survivors off those generators. But yeah, very successful early chase, lots of resources used, however, so we might see a couple of faster chases in or upcoming. Then Nathan will be again the one in chase here. Our ace player runs around that long old jungle bin, that window he will use to the best of his abilities. That Bamboozle comes out and he is left with only a short filler here. Every Pizza might just go for the curve, misses it however. And Nathan will be able to play that point one more time, forces the M1 as well, which is practically always a win for the Survivor side. So yeah, he will be able to make it to the next tower here if he is not betrayed by the RNG that is provided to him.
Yeah, very nice flare there from Nazan on that extremely unsafe pellet. Able to get him all the way over to the corner of the map there. Pickup going to come in now. He did not make that pellet gem, but that's 3 generators done for that first chase, Mathis. Not good for the Hillbilly here, and another generator is about 2/3 completed here by Fasty. They've already got a Deliverance Survivor angling for this unhook here, and there's no way they're not going to fast pull this. The Survivor on hook has Decisive Strike, and they're going to be unhooked by the Deliverance Survivor. Everything is going to be looking in Rapture's favor here as Ryan gets dropped. Nazan tried to take that hit, but the Hillbilly was in overdrive just too fast. I mean, this is even though that was a cool hit, this is perfectly fine for Rapture. They've got Deliverance on the hook and Decisive Strike active elsewhere on the map. So Ryan going to immediately pull himself off with that Deliverance, and now Chase onto game over here at this filler pallet. Goes for the curve, not quite enough though. Just missed out on that turning a little bit. Outlet drop going to come, forces the break out of Everyday Pizza. And now, game over. Probably running out of resources here. I think it's just this window here, and then kind of a dead zone in the corner.
Yeah, this is kind of reminiscent of what old Hillbilly used to be like. Oh, what an unfortunate bump there. Didn't slide off the barrel. It's very reminiscent of what Hillbilly meta used to look like in 2022, where you'd usually have one survivor take chase on, then it was Thompson House, where you'd have one survivor take chase while your other 3 teammates are basically 3 split on generators, and that first chase had to be enough to get all of those first 3 gens popped, because otherwise the Hillbilly is going to be able to get you off those generators so super quickly. And yeah, this has played out fantastically for Survivor side. They managed to get that 3 split right from the get-go. The first chase, a couple of chases were long enough, did suffice for all of these 3 gens to pop accordingly to the strategy that they went into this with. And now we're only looking at 3 separate stages on Game Over, Ryan and Nathan, and they've popped all 5 generators. And previously, especially on Bloodlord, you would expect the Hillbilly to 4K But yeah, this is looking really rough, despite the fact that Cowshed has been nerfed so significantly in previous patches. But now, yeah, Everyday Pizza just not being able to keep up with our survivor side. And he will be able to get this down in the end game. Oh, it does wait out the dead art there that Ryan was trying to fake with the emote on top of that. And now it's all about, will they be able to get this 4 out, this juicy 4 that they're trying to work for so hard here? Or will they just be fine with only 1 survivor biting the dust? Considering Ryan has already been hooked before, so this would only be 5 stages in total. And yeah, that is exactly what is going to happen. They opt to go with this 1 kill and 3 sides, escaping the trial with Farsky, not having been hooked at all.
That was a valiant attempt there from Ryan. Going for that, like, spin into the wave, into the dead hard. That would have certainly been a highlight reel clip if he had hit it. But unfortunate there, Everyday Pizza does wait it out. And Ryan goes down, going to be the only death in the trial for Rapture. Rapture showing immediately that they are not out of this game. A devastating performance against Archon's Hillbilly player here. So Rapture, they're still in this game, Mathis. Only 5 stages on a map like Cowshed that has so many dead zones and mobility options for the Hillbilly. I think it's an extremely impressive performance for Rapture's survivors.
I'm also looking forward to whom we are going to see representing Team Rapture on the Hillbilly, because I know that Ryan's been known as a Hillbilly main since probably 2020, 2021-ish. So he's been on that killer for a good amount of time. Hasn't played him for a long time in between, or within this time frame that I've just established between 2020 and 2025. So we might see someone else on the killer side, but Ryan, after all, is their variety killer, similar to what Everyday Pizza is for Team Archon, despite the fact we saw Fasky on the Spirit and not Ryan. Not even sure if Ryan actually ever played much Spirit. He might have been one of those, he might have been a Spirit main back in the day, but I've got no recollection of that. Don't have the photographic memory that all of us so wish they had. But yeah, I think it would just be fitting to go on a little break here also, because we've been talking with no pause for a good amount of time. So everybody in chat on YouTube later, for you it's just going to be a quick transition. But yeah, everybody in chat will be back in a couple of minutes. We need to have a couple sips of water in order to get ready properly for this upcoming rematch on the Billy set. Match number 2, this time with Rapture on Killer. We'll see you in just a short moment. Stay tuned. And we are back for real this time after a quick restart of this trial, because our survivors of Team Archon accidentally brought 2 Unbreakables into this trial, meaning this time they're only going to, or one of their survivors is only going to be able to run 3 perks, and there's going to be a 0.5 stage deduction on their killer result from the previous trial. And we once again have, as expected, Ryan representing Team Rapture on the Hillbilly this time with the exact same build as he had previously. That he could have adapted, but I'm sensing a reoccurring theme. You once again find the Sniper player at the start of the trial. Mr. Next time on the AS will be rocking that extremely crucial perk for the slugging phases of the game. But this player is extremely vulnerable at the start, considering all it takes is an M1, not even a curve required to secure that early down onto our player. Ryan is going to go through each of these pallets in the corner of the map. Loses Mr. Next time here now, though, who I'm pretty sure just kind of ran an edge map and then hugged the wall away. And good morning, Everyday Pizza. What's going on there? He's not using Apex Muffler, so not sure what that was about.
Yeah, there's no stealth Billy going on here. Maybe a big miscommunication coming in from Archon's survivors.
Yeah.
Everyday Pizza just gets cross-map sniped by Ryan there. And you can't even really call that a highlight play, because he just kind of like looked like he was just crossing a road. But looks like actually Ryan here, he's able to sniff out the unhooker there. I don't know if that was by chance or just a hard read from Ryan, but he's now got its bats here, going for the unhook, and with a Hillbilly revving the chainsaw next to the hook, and he's gonna make it a 1-for-1. He not able to rev the chainsaw quite in time to make that like a hook unhook denial, but going to just take the hook onto Fats. Now that is most likely the Deliverance player.
Yep.
But especially given what position Fats was in when they were found going for that unhook. But Ryan now does not really seem to care about tunneling or anything like that whatsoever. No camping either. Fats immediately uses the Deliverance as I predicted. But Ryan now in chase with the No Mither Survivor again. Mr. Next Time, great pathing there. Going in next to the wall to try to dodge the curve. Doesn't drop this pallet either. Ryan going for another curve, and this time it's going to hit. Nice attempt at a flare there from Mr. Next Time, but Ryan there clued into the counterplay against the Hillbilly. As we know, he is a very good Hillbilly player. So that's going to be the third fresh hook already for Ryan. Very good start here, especially given the 5 stages in the last match.
Yeah, it's that SQ crowd control that's been super buffed only a couple patches ago, where now those windows vaulted are blocked permanently until that hex totem is ultimately cleansed. Ryan is taking full advantage of 2 windows already blocked. So with 3 more remaining, and one of those, Mr. Next Time, unfortunately struggled with or fell victim to on that long wall jungle gym. That the moment he would vault it once, he knew fully well that he would not be able to use this tile any more times than that. And we're already looking at a good amount of stages here relatively early into the trial, thanks to that snipe on Everyday Pizza. And kids, that's exactly why you look left and right when you cross the road and not just to one side, or stick to your phones, because it can get quite dangerous when you've got people like Ryan way over speed limit crashing down the road. And yeah, so be careful out there, guys. Yeah, we've got Fats already on that second stage, 4 generators still remaining, and practically every perk still up. Of course, Corrupt Intervention already run out quite a while ago, but it's done its service, certainly. And whoa, what a nice attempt there on the zigzag, yeah. The S-curve, what you call it. Almost landed, but unfortunately gets stuck on the tile on the corner of the cart.
Yeah, and that S-curve there that you just saw Ryan do, as he gets another down onto Mr. Next Time at this pallet. I believe this hook is going to be the tie for Ryan, fifth hook stage on 3 survivors. But anyways, that S-curve that you saw Ryan do there is something that only came into existence after the overdrive was added to the Hillbilly. And then when the turn rate on the curve was changed as well. So the window to curve is wide enough now that you can actually go back and forth like that if you're fast enough and accurate enough. So really good stuff there from Ryan, and also something to try at home if you are an aspiring Hillbilly player. Best when you have overdrive though. You don't typically want to do it when you're not in the blue mode. But Ryan protecting this hook, and for good reason. He's already at the tie condition, and there are 2 generators still to go. So Rapture basically has this one in the bag.
Well, yeah, also thank you for the heads up to our analyst Toby, because this is already GG, based on the penalty that Team Archon received for the Unbreakable. Yeah, so we're looking at 4.5 status to a full 5 on Rapture's side. So unless Ryan somehow manages to get 0 status and then also break a rule, we're looking at a win for Team Rapture in the second set, tying the score once again to a 1-1. And Ryan is also showing off what a Hillbilly game should have looked like, and should have been much more impressive than in the previous trial. But we also really saw Rapture's system-style approach to the game pay off, sort of Manchester City-esque, where you just have system players following one certain plan and executing it accordingly in their game after. So here it's worked out phenomenally, as we always had this 2-split at the start, or in the Billy game even a 3-split that they were so sure of executing, and that also paid off perfectly, considering that first chase took a bit too long for Everyday Pizza and wasn't able to get any pressure in the early stages of the game. Meanwhile, we had 3 survivors sitting on individual gens, and undisturbed for 1.5 minutes, they were able to pop all 3, basically winning or skipping the mid-game and immediately going to end-game when you've got 4 survivors still standing and 2 generators remaining. Looking pretty good for the survivor side, unless the survivor is tunneled out immediately by the time that by the time that penultimate generator pops. So yeah, Ryan, now all he has to do really is finish the job with only 2 survivors left in the trial. It is looking like a very lucrative 4K.
Yeah, and I'm surprised this pallet is still up at this long haul jungle gym. Chainsaw going to come up there. Ryan doesn't want to break it though. He's actually just going to leave. And I think that's actually kind of the strategy that makes these Hillbilly games. You saw it a lot from Ryan, where he gets a couple pallet breaks in a chase and then immediately leaves. He wants to leave those dead zones as much as he can so that he can eventually find a survivor in them. Because if you have a survivor in this Hillbilly game and they're chaining a long wall into shack, into another filler, you don't really want to be chasing them. You have to rely on the Hillbilly's speed as, oh, nice curve attempt there. But Ryan, he relies on the Hillbilly's speed to kind of take advantage of miscommunications from the survivors. Because the window that you have to say that the Hillbilly is coming is about like 3 seconds when he's in overdrive. As we see Everyday Pizza going into the locker. Ryan a little bit confused. He's eventually going to figure it out though. And that is going to be the final generator done. It's just not enough though.
That's the nail in the coffin has already been hammered in a couple minutes ago. That's already now 3 people practically dead because there's absolutely no way Nova makes it all the way over there. With that generator having been popped just now, Ryan also has a very clear idea of where our last survivor is standing, and basically what he's doing now is he's trying to find clear lines of sight that connect from his position to the edge map, so he knows exactly if and when a survivor tries to make an attempt to cross past the sector that he's trying to shut down here. And while also maintaining a good look on that one exit gate that was closest to the generator popped, considering the other one is also right next to that hooked survivor, there is absolutely no way that Nova could have already made it in time over to that exit gate, and goes for a humongous play there. But he is trying his best to make it past this line of sight here that Ryan is trying to shut down, and he was, I was going to say, there's no way Ryan doesn't spot that with such a clear angle on our side, and he's on our killer, from our killer POV. And yeah, Ryan is all he's just going to do is hold that chainsaw, be super patient, and make absolutely sure that Nova doesn't double back into Everyday Pizza last second, trying to get that unhook, and then maybe have one survivor standing once again on top of that with the endurance status effect. But yeah, that's all survivors hooked, and in comparison to the measly 3 status or 5 status we saw in the previous 5 status we saw in the previous trial, this looks like a slaughter.
So yeah, momentum in favor of Rapture now as they tie the series up 1-1. And you know what this means, Mathis? This means that the chances are increasing that we're going to see the Houndmaster later.
Ooh, it is, yeah, absolutely. Can't lose track of her, because now we're going to at least see 4 matchups. But then again, I also did point out the thing with Blight, so I'm pretty sure if Rapture win this upcoming set, it's looking pretty grim for Archon. But then again, Blight was Archon's pick, which can't be surprised I did not expect. But yeah, very dominating performance here by Rapture in this Hillbilly set. Also, with Ryan having so much experience and also being the captain of the team, he surely led his team to victory here, and very deservingly so. But yeah, we're going into that race set now on Hawkins, so also we are descending from tier 1 killer balance to tier 5, meaning there's plenty of bans for the survivor side, practically no exhaustion perks. Also on an indoor map against a killer that has hardly any restrictions at all.
Yeah, and like we said before, this Wraith on Hawkins is going to be an extremely interesting set. Hawkins is a map that seriously benefits stealth killers. There are so many corners and walls and blockers of lines of sight, but also Hawkins can also be an extremely strong map for survivors. So many of those rooms in the middle of Hawkins just have god pallets or extremely strong windows, those like little rooms that have a pallet outside of them and then the little like cage catwalks inside that you go up on. Survivors can just run a killer forever on some of those little areas and setups. So when you have a stealth killer in combination with that, positioning is going to be extremely important for the survivors. If they don't give this Wraith free hits, I think he's going to have an extremely tough time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Careful is the absolute cornerstone of this upcoming trial. Since similar to what I explained much earlier with the Ghostface set, or the general approach of top tier teams against these indoor stealth killers, where you have basically no one or everyone camping a pallet until you have exact and certain information where the killer is and what he is doing at the moment. Otherwise, it is just way too risky to fend for yourself and to wander alone in the scary corridors of the indoor maps. And this, respectively, this time we're looking at Hawkins. I'm expecting either a very slow game or very quick game, depending on the approach by the Wraith. And also, one thing I'm really interested in seeing is if many more teams, or if other teams start picking up on the strategy utilized by Calamity last tournament on these indoor maps that some of the YouTube comments also pointed out in quite the abundance, where people noticed how every single Calamity survivor was playing a character, a survivor, that had some sort of hat cosmetic or something that is sort of reminiscent of a sombrero, something that's sort of like a larger, round, wider hat, because then it can get quite confusing on aura reading perks. Because at that point, every survivor looks about the same, since you can't really make out the exact silhouette of based on just their silhouette. And if everybody wears the same head cosmetic, that is standing out one at that, it can become quite confusing for the killer side. And that's something that Calamity took advantage of last time, and at times even paid off quite significantly. So I'm curious. Looking at the lobby right now, it doesn't look like Archon is utilizing it, but maybe we see something of the likes of what I just explained by Rapture, or maybe in other upcoming qualifier trials. At the latest stage, we're going to see Calamity most likely utilizing it again, if no one else is interested in trying this strategy. I firmly believe it is really, really interesting and can be quite beneficial at times, especially since on indoors you really depend on that scarce amount of aura reading that you are allowed on the killer side, especially with Eruption, for example, or Pain Res. So yeah, it's really interesting to see, or it will be super interesting to see, to me at least, if any of these teams will try to utilize any of the strategies that we've seen performed quite successfully in our previous tournaments.
Yeah, honestly, Mathis, I would say that we probably won't see the hat meta again, because the hat meta was, in my opinion, it was to counter Scratched Mirror Myers, whose aura reading is so constant that the killer is like easily able to tell who's who, because they're just aura reading all the time. But I've no Scratched Mirror Myers in the winter circuit, so I'm not sure if we'll be seeing the hat meta anytime soon. But anyways, survivors of Archon here have a tall task ahead of them. Ryan on the Wraith with a very interesting build here, and he's immediately finding a survivor here. Nova going to be in chase at a filler pallet. Ryan goes for an ambitious swing, gets stunned up with the pallet, but honestly, can't blame Ryan for going for that swing. When you find somebody that quick, you kind of just want to send it, because if you do get that hit, then you're out to an amazing start. So Ryan now uncloaking once again, goes for another ambitious swing, but this time, again, not going to work out, so he is just going to leave. Maybe you don't go for those swings so many times in a row, especially when the survivors are calling you out on dropping those pallets. But now I think he's getting a hit here on two Thats. Very nicely done there. Shadow Dance and Swift Hunt there was able to get him that hit. And yeah, he's going to just break this pallet very quickly. Continue chase onto Thats now. He's got two very weak pallets here. But if he's able to get up onto the catwalk with those windows, he could have a better time. But he's trapped here at this extremely unsafe pallet. Whoa. Actually, very nice holding of the W there from Thats. Great pathing.
Yeah, but now he's sort of locked himself in on one of those 50-50 pallets that will be really difficult to play. And the one cheeky little mind game by Orion, faking, looking left and right there. Or an attempt of a mind game. So Thats will unfortunately fall victim to it, and that is going to be a very early hook onto Fats, and we already see that Pain Resonance in action on Mr. Nextfire, and also that first stack of Grim Embrace will be exerted as all of these generators are blocked for a short period of time. And a lot of this early game pressure practically nullified, or at least taking a large hit here. Ryan trying to play a flick flip, as it's called in the comedy jargon of Comp DBD, to his best capabilities. And so far, Nova's been able to read him quite well on the extended lunges that he gets out of the Uncloak, especially being helped by that Swift Hunt and Shadow Dance combination. And we see Fats unfortunately running straight into a cloaked Ryan. We see Nova coming in to help here. We'll be able to take that hit and also sacrifice the pallet to just buy a little bit of distance and also build up that barricade between both of these injured survivors and the killer. As Ryan is scouting the map, trying to get a better understanding. Also, there's not even Pain Res. I want to say Eruption at the start. It's not even Pain Res. Ryan's trying to get a better understanding of where our survivors are spreading out to and what areas they are pressuring. We also get the Dragon's Grip Valley here on Nova, our survivor that's already injured, however, now firmly believes that Ryan is not going to come back upon finding Fats. And Ryan will try to go for another flick around the corner, but it's stuck on one of those extremely poorly designed ledges around the tank. I don't even know what to call it from to be accurate with Stranger Things. It's not really what are those called, like the cold chambers or the low pressure.
I don't know what he. You mean the isolation tanks? That's what they are in Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's what that is. But whoever, if anyone watches Strongman competition or something like that, then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Everyday Pizza gonna go down though. He got found looking for that save and just immediately took 2 hits, and that's going to be 2 survivors on the ground. They do have 2 generators about to be completed, but Ryan here, he might have an opportunity to slug. Is going to go for the pickup now onto Fats. He's a little bit worried about a potential save, but there is nothing coming in. They're probably going to be focusing on picking up Everyday Pizza right now, as this is going to be the second hook onto Fats. No Grim Embrace value here. They've got 2 survivors injured, 2 generators remaining. Ryan has definitely got a chance to capitalize here.
I was gonna say, it looked pretty grim at first with that 4 generators remaining and 2 survivors slugged, but our survivors have been able to turn this around quite significantly, and they're now somewhat up to the pace of Ryan, but still they absolutely cannot let Fats die here. Another great extended lunge by Ryan around this really short tile. Now we also see Sloppy Butcher paying off, and really how big of a nuisance it can be in these trials, because all of that progress they just made resetting one another has been completely nullified, and basically they didn't even hit the ball. They're back to square root 0 with Everyday Pizza now back on the ground. Mr. Next Time, the last survivor that was healthy, now also joining the injured club that Team Archon are founding. And yeah, they are going for the triple reset as Fats is being left behind here by his team, as they have to get this triple reset to once again reclaim the position of being able to take hits for one another. Fats decides to hold W, but Ryan suspected something of the likes of that. And yet is our one lonely survivor injured, as all of our other survivors are trying to push through that Sloppy Butcher. He does hold W away, which can only mean one thing, that we have a survivor in position for hit tank. But that might be way too late, yeah. Nova just spinning in a circle there, not running in for Fats. Was hoping that Fats would make it through that small, narrow corridor, so Nova could enforce that hit tank by body blocking Ryan in said corridor. But it's unfortunately backfires immediately, and Fats will be sacrificed to the entity now with 3 men standing on 2 generators left, which is a very, very petrifying situation to be in on the survivor side.
Yeah, and you can see when Fats was in his final chase there, you can see how the survivors are expected to play these chases. There's so many unsafe filler pallets on Hawkins that if you let the Wraith play his usual like filler pallet mind game with the uncloak, you're going to die. You need these survivors, they need to be using the connected nature of the rooms on Hawkins to try to punish the Wraith for going for like an uncloak lunge. Like Fats was able to for a little bit, but he just wasn't able to last quite long enough there. As Eruption and Dragon Script going to be placed down onto this upstairs gen. It's going to be Everyday Pizza taking the vault, falling down, gets to the filler pallet there, but see again, you can't be stuck at a pallet like this against Wraith. You have to find something connecting. But he's actually just going to go right back up. But actually, Ryan doesn't want to chase that anymore. He's going to leave. Thinks he can maybe find another injured survivor here. Or maybe, was it Mr. Next Time here? Yeah, finds the healthy survivor on the gen. And he does not get the stun in time. Hit through the pallet there. Going to be all survivors injured now. Ryan, good game sense that somebody was working on that generator, and it did have a lot of progress.
Well, and now we see all of our survivors also starting to damage the generators. What is that about? Yeah, of course, it's a very obvious visual bug that we've seen countless of times already in the previous trials. But yeah, that's going to join us now in the game. It didn't want to be left unnoticed. So yeah, we get it, damage. We know you like to be there, and that Ryan likes to damage generators. But yeah, now we're in a really precarious spot where all of our survivors are injured. Of course, the moment they say that, they heal. But yeah, only Nova being the one that is currently healthy. But if Ryan manages to get all 3 survivors injured, that basically makes it so no one can take hits. And Ryan is in a great position to just go for the slugs, which is exactly what he's taking advantage of here. Waiting for a head-on here, and they do get it off somehow, despite Ryan knowing. So it seems like, yeah, Ryan is just going to opt to go for the secure hook stage there instead of committing to his ambitions of getting a 3-man slug here with only 3 survivors remaining. Does still have a good amount of perks here that will aid him in the later stages of the game, as Wraith is trifurcated the moment he goes for the hook. And yeah, Mr. Next Time also not a generator here. Probably awaiting Nova's arrival soon for a reset.
Nova cannot get found here as the healthy survivor.
Probably going for the unhook. Yeah.
Very tense here, as it's, gotta be Ryan finding Mr. Next Time, the injured survivor here. Hopefully, nice mind game there. Going to choose to break the pallet instead, though. And it looks like, Mr. Next Time does have another filler pallet here. He's actually just gonna hold W away from it there. See, that is what I'm talking about. That is how you have to play these pallets against Wraith. He's not able to get the uncloak in time, and nice fake there from Mr. Next Time forces the missed swing out of Ryan. Now he's unfortunately stuck playing this bad filler pallet. He is going to go down, but that was like an extra 15 seconds there bought by Mr. Next Time. Very good chase.
Oh yeah, easily. That was phenomenally played by Mr. Next Time. Wins the couple of 50-50s there, faking the pallet, and then also winning a couple of those standoffs on the pallet, but unfortunately 50-50s can only bring you so far. And the scarcity slash the limitation that the survivors have brought upon themselves with the resources left available in this trial are going to make it more difficult to play around, especially against a killer that is constantly undetectable. And Nova's still the only person that is healthy, probably about to change if No was in fact Everyday Pizza. Going for that reset, right with an extremely ambitious swing, right pushes right through their pallet, and it pays off. They actually managed to get it as well. Was that Mr. Next Time getting that? That would have been ridiculous.
That was Mr. Next Time looping around the whole side of the room and then coming back for the pallet save. Very nice play there out of Archon survivors. Mr. Next Time going to go down in short order after that save, though. It looks like they're just trying to buy time for Nova to possibly finish that 4th generator.
Yeah, then the moment that Wraith hits, it's practically game over, so Nova cannot be found under any circumstances whatsoever. We see it insta unhook also onto Mr. Next Time by Everyday Pizza there. So should be Nova now being found. Ryan heads straight over to that generator that was just popped, assuming that it could have only been Nova realistically. And both our other survivors are currently doubling up a generator, probably a last-ditch effort to play around this Grim Embrace, but Nova is running to the area of the map that we've already seen used so much in the past.
He's
actually decides to slug. Is he? He probably assumes that generator so much further, but it isn't.
That's your 4th stack of Grim Embrace, Ryan. Okay, very interesting decision here. He is going to find the 2 injured survivors doubling the gen, so it is all going to work out for Ryan in the end. I guess he just had a little bit more time than he thought he had there, as Mr. Next Time going to be grabbed out of the locker, but that actually is going to allow Everyday Pizza to escape from the room and maybe go pick up Nova.
Yep, but it's starting to look rather grim for stages as well, because that is our second survivor eliminated from the trial. And now we've only got 2 people standing, both injured, and Ryan has an exact idea of where they have this run to. So this is going to look extremely grim. He's probably going to go for Nova to secure that 4th Grim Embrace stack, because the moment he gets that, it's game over. Everyday Pizza won't be able to return to the generator. Never mind, goes to the slug. Everyday, probably because he doesn't want to play around Hatch, but Hatch isn't really something that has to be considered in DBDLeague. Oh, he could basically just stand in front of him. Oh, the Iron Will. Oh, hello.
Okay. He's found it.
What a predicament to be in. Yeah, but Ryan is not allowed to stand there because that would be body blocking the survivor. And yeah, he's just gonna go around and go for the down. Quite the
For a second, it seemed like he had not seen Everyday Pizza in the tank.
He smelt him.
But yeah, that's going to be a 4K1 secured for Ryan. Very nicely done there on the Wraith. Like I said, this match is very back and forth. There's a lot of areas that the survivors can have a very strong chase in on Hawkins, but there's also a ton of pallets on this map that if you try to play them against Wraith, you just die.
Also, the word I was looking for at the start is Hyperbaric Chamber, where Everyday Pizza was just spotted in with that Iron Will. That's the word I was looking for. But yeah, anyway, fantastic performance by Orion. It looked like our survivors were able to change the momentum or the pace of the game quite a lot throughout this trial, but it's really unfortunate if that's being tunneled out at a moderate speed, I'd say, because it did look like our survivors were able to turn it around in the mid-game when they were able to, at that one moment when they had 2 survivors slugged and it was at 4 and they were at 4 generators remaining, but all of a sudden 2 generators popped, so they were able to turn the tide here. But yeah, in the end, it is that sloppy butcher value, and just not being able to see where the killer is at all times is just such a detriment to our survivor side, and it's so difficult to play around. And that is exactly what we've just seen demonstrated by Orion, especially also with the amount of extended lunge hits he managed to get around the tiles, ending chases rather quickly, and the one highlight we spectated with Mr. Next Time, while injured, winning about 5 50-50s in a row, I want to say, buying, as you pointed out, roughly 15 seconds for our survivor side. But yeah, that is first game of a Wraith set, and I'd say that after a short break, we shall return with Archon on the killer side, hopefully trying to get a better result than Ryan's 4K on 1 generator remaining. And Wraith is one of those killers where you could really get whatever. I've seen 4Ks on 4 before, so don't want to rule anything out. It could also just be a 6-stage survivor performance, and it would be a very obvious win. But yeah, whoever takes this is once again going to be in the advantage overall with a 2-1 score. Currently standing at 1-1, and followed by the race that will be seeing Blight on Ormond Resort 3. So definitely stay tuned for the upcoming trial, as it is going to decide whether the Blight set is going to be match ball for Rapture or Archon, or whether we're just going to see another 2-2 and then into the much anticipated Houndmaster that we are yet to see in this tournament. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty of opportunities in the future, as Houndmaster isn't only tiebreaker and has been picked quite a lot already by teams for their first killer. So yeah, we'll be back in just a short moment. Stay tuned, everybody, for game number 2 of set 3.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Hawkins National Laboratories. We have Everyday Pizza playing the killer again for Archon, this time on the Wraith. And he's going to need a 4K chew here to get his team back in the game. He's going to immediately find a chase here onto Crow on the Claudette, who is just determined to chuck every single pallet she can find on the Hawkins Laboratory. Ruin activating on this generator as 3 survivors now found. Everyday Pizza choosing to chase over to the portal room with Nazon here. Actually, very good call out there on the pallet. Just blows straight through that pallet. Does not believe that Nazon was going to drop it. And that's going to be the sloppy butcher applied here for Everyday Pizza. Going now for another healthy survivor. And this is crucially in an area where the pallets have already been dropped by the Claudette. Actually, one more pallet there. Dropped there by Fasty on the head of Everyday Pizza. So good start here for Rapture. They do have one injured survivor, but it seems like they are starting to get some progress on the generators. They really do want to get this middle one done. It's a very important one, but now Pro looks like he's going to be giving a free hit over to the killer. Everyday Pizza, you could have got a hit there, Everyday Pizza. You didn't have to try to body block, but it doesn't matter anyways because another mind game is won by this Wraith.
Yeah, Crow at the start of the trial using a lot of resources. Also now his first time playing for Rapture in DBDLeague. Taking that chase right to the generator that both survivors here, Fasti and I believe it was Ryan, doubling at the start of the trial. So pretty unfortunate for survivors. Like, may have been a communication error, may have been the only option that Crow really had at his disposal. So yeah, it's going to be 2 hits at the start of this trial here. For now, we are now going to see Ryan in the corner of the map. Legacy Adam rocking in style, tries to go for a corner tech here, but Everyday Pizza heard the Adam breathe around the corner, or pant rather, since he's just had to go from a sprint straight to standing still. Also, yeah, a phenomenal counterplay to how Wraith works. So you're taking advantage of these narrow corridors where you just stand still and force him to uncloak before you just decide to W to the pallet. Just a tiny bit of time waste. And Ryan here not really knowing where to run, or accidentally almost ran right into that reset, but decides to U-turn at the last second, which looked at first looked kind of dorky, but it was for good reason as to not be closer to that reset. Because I'm pretty sure if Ryan had held left there, or had continued to go that direction, they would have not got that heal in time.
Very lucky for the survivors that they were finished with that heal by the time Everyday Pizza got there. But first hook going to come in onto Ryan there, and it's definitely a good start for Everyday Pizza. He's got the Ruin up, Pain Resonance activating there, and definitely slowing these survivors down here as they are now going to need to think about getting this unhook onto Ryan. And I mean, especially with this Ruin, if they try to play for... Okay, very nice. Very nicely done there from Everyday Pizza. Crow did not need to vault that back. Everyday Pizza committing to this mind game and actually playing very well so far. He hasn't really fallen for any of the mind games from these survivors, whether it's going to be them holding W or vaulting back and forth on a pallet or window. Doing very well on the Wraith so far. Ryan is going to be unhooked here. Crow making a lot of use out of this strong window in the portal room.
Yeah.
Gets another vault on it there. And surely any second now it's going to be blocked, right? No, he must not have been in chase. It's finally blocked now. Crow buying so much time for his team. Took him so long to block that window, and he ends up dying all the way in the corner of the map as well. Very nicely done there from Crow.
Yeah, not entirely sure what Everyday Pizza was trying to achieve there, because while you're cloaked, obviously you can never be engaged in a chase, so that window is never going to block. And also, the moment you break chase on that and the killer's on the opposite side of that long wall that connects to the window, that is basically a free shift tech, meaning that you can just not hold shift and just walk back and forth, and that window's never going to block, which is exactly what our Wraith player allowed our survivor to abuse, with Crow being able to have such a long chase there. But we're still looking at 5 generators remaining. First, the hook stage already even though, despite the fact that it took quite a long time, our survivors have not been able to get through any of these objectives just yet. They might have a decent amount of progress on these generators, but it's the numbers that count in the end. We see an attempt by Nathan to come in for potential hit tank here. Ryan was hoping to win that vault, so subsequently Nathan would have been able to body block that corridor, allowing Ryan to exit the room unscathed and be able to prolong the chase quite significantly. But unfortunately, Ryan gets it right across that pallet. Unfortunately, lives on the other side of the English Channel, relatively close to me, I think, as well.
Yeah, and Ryan was doing so well to play that pallet, but it was all over when he drops it. As it's going to be Fasti here in chase, actually going to make that pallet and miss the swing as well. So nicely done from Fasti. Not going to be able to escape that without a hit, though. Was able to delay it a little bit. But we saw in that chase with Ryan, he was playing that pallet so well without it being dropped. But as soon as you drop that pallet against Wraith, you're dead unless you have a survivor to come take a hit. If you can stall at that pallet without dropping it, and then maybe go for a pallet save, like wave on the pallet, I think that buys you so much more time in these chases than dropping it and just getting insta-killed by the uncloak lunge.
Yeah, it's really difficult with Wraith, especially with those 50-50s, but the moment, while the pellet is still up, it's difficult to play around that out of cloak lunge, but it's also pretty difficult the moment it does end up being dropped, because then either the Wraith can has an option between two to pick from. It's either you uncloak and you play around Bloodlust and try to win the pellet that way, or you just stay cloaked, especially if a sort of like a pig crouch, where if the
Ryan
survivor is
just died
stuck
on
in a
hook,
dead end.
Mathis. Sorry to interrupt you, but Ryan just died on hook.
Oh yeah, it's very fair to point out, because I'm apparently blind and deaf. But yeah, that's very significant to point out, because at 4 generators remaining, 1 dead, this is looking fantastic for Archon, also considering this is Rapture's pick. But yeah, with the uncloak, well, the moment you uncloak, the survivor of course has the option to just hold W and run away from the tile and make you lose that setup that we were trying to establish. Similar to Pig, where most people will just say, just leave the tile null. But yeah, if the Pig doesn't crouch or the Wraith stays uncloaked, then he might as well just play for the Bloodlust play and try to win the 50-50, because inevitably a survivor is going to fail it. And yeah, 3 generators remaining. I don't think they have much then progress. Also a lot of help with their pain res. I think that's sort of also what Rhino was lacking in the previous trial. Because the survivors were still able to get through 3 generators at the start, and this time we're looking a better result with that pain res and without that Grim Embrace.
Yeah, and Hook is going to come in there. I'm not sure if I saw a pain res happen there. It might have triggered on a different generator. Yeah, that is going to be 2 stacks of pain res remaining. So yeah, good pain resonance there from Everyday Pizza. And now he's got a survivor dead on hook here with only 2 other survivors left standing. He's got a good location here on this survivor at the portal room. But again, it's this this devious window here in the portal room that is just never going to block if Everyday Pizza doesn't play this right. And he's going back and forth, cloaking, uncloaking, and yeah, Nazan is just never going to leave this window. There's no reason for him to.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think Everyday Pizza might just have to leave him here, as the heal is going to come through. And yeah, how that window is just absolutely ridiculous against the Wraith in particular.
And now also, as they've just finished resetting their health states, this is sort of a signifier for the fact that we are about to witness a rather slow game now, trying to play the 50-50 that is heavily killer-sided. That is going to be more like 70-30. Yeah, Nazan taking that hit.
Barely any distance there gained by Nazan, since he took that hit like from the stagger. And now he's going to have to play another extremely unsafe pallet here. Will he drop it? No, he's actually just going to take the uncloak lunge. Very nicely done from Everyday Pizza. That's going to be another fresh hook here, his 3rd fresh hook. Crow is dead on hook. That's got to be the target here. I mean, it's not like he's playing Grim Embrace or anything like that. He doesn't necessarily need all of these fresh hooks here. He wants to put the nails in the coffin for Rapture's survivors. Obviously, nothing like Deliverance in play here. Everyday Pizza now going up. Yeah, he's able to find the survivor stealthing in this room, body blocking Crow in, and that's going to be the dead on hook survivor injured in a bad spot there. Very nice game sense from Everyday Pizza.
Yeah, that was a fantastic find, because yeah, my guy just goes for the flashlight click 360, but unfortunately it's been well established for I think 2 years, ever since that flashlight change occurred, where they removed clicking that. You're kind of stuck in that animation for a good amount of time, so yeah, maybe old habits die slow kind of deal. But yeah, Fasti has the furthest progressed generator, but with 2 survivors eliminated and 3 generators remaining. And I have to confess, Wraith is not really a killer. You could 2v1. There's a handful of killers that you can, but Wraith is absolutely not one of them, considering his immense mobility and also chase potential, and he will also find Fasti, so it's gonna take Nazan a good 3 minutes to get both of those generators popped that they would need to get the win condition.
Yeah, good stun there from Fasti, but I believe that's got to be like one of the last pallets that's on this whole side of the map. Fasti now, he has these little control panel pallets here. There are 2 of them. He's gonna have to hold W here. As soon as he drops this pallet, he honestly is going to be dead. Gonna be holding W through it again, going up, going for the wall. I don't think he's gonna make that vault. It's not in a position for him to be able to get a fast vault, so not enough distance there from Fasti. Great idea though. If he had been on the other side there, I feel like he might have been able to get that fast vault.
That's also one thing that I saw Nazen demonstrate, at least on in his Wraith chases, which unfortunately was unsuccessful. But the thing is, if a Wraith is cloaked and he's on the pallet and you're on the opposite side of the loop, and you're forced to play it, then the only thing realistically you can do is, first of all, under no circumstance should you hesitate there, because what the Wraith is going to do is he's in 9 out of 10 cases, he's just going to pick a side and then lunge all the way around the tile trying to catch you off guard. But so if you have that pallet pre-drop, then you can take advantage of you being stuck in the vault animations and so on. But what you realistically need to do is if you're standing still, well, if you're on the other side of the tile and the Wraith is cloaked on the pallet, then you have to just pick a direction the moment he gets that uncloak and just gun for it. 50% of the times, obviously, you're going to run right into his arms, but in the other cases, he launches the opposite direction from you and you make it to that pallet. And that's really it's crucial that you make it to that pallet before the killer can. It's the same thing with why, for example, many people know like Flick Bubba works is because you have to be on that pallet first, and then you need to outspeed the survivor around the loop, and that is exactly what Wraith profits from also. So that is something you need to be aware of, need to play around, and you always need to make that pallet before the killer does.
Yeah, so Fasty going up on his second hook here, only one survivor standing now, and if Nazan gets found here, that is going to be the win secured for Archon. In dominant fashion, honestly, on this Wraith set.
Yeah.
Just needs to find Nazan here, and I mean, we don't really have a read on where he is. Looking over in the corner by this completed generator, listening, and he's actually going to find the scratch marks and the blood here. Nazan is going to be going for an unhook here. Yeah, he's going to be able to get Fasty at the last second. So, final chase here for this Jake. Everyday Pizza has secured this win for Archon. They're going to be going up 2-1 in this series, Mathis. And I mean, this is something that we probably were incorrect in our predictions on.
Super impressive. I am so happy to be proven wrong here. Everyday Pizza with a phenomenal performance, and all of these killers with that slight gap, or the slight gap of his consistent performance in that one. It was Billy. Yeah, it was Billy.
Yeah, he didn't do so good in the Hillbilly.
Yeah,
he didn't do so good in the Hillbilly game.
Exception, yeah.
But I mean, it seems like he's just playing every killer for Archon, and his other killers today have just been lights out against Rapture, going up 2-1 here, and I believe this means that we're going to be going into the Blight set. Isn't that correct, Mathis? And this is Archon's pick.
Yes, Mr. Prion, it is, absolutely. But that's also the one thing I pointed out previously, is that we've only seen Archon play Blight once before in DBDLeague, and they got kind of destroyed. But yeah, we'll see what they have to offer in the upcoming set, because we are looking at a very different Archon than what we know from our early scrim nights in 2024. So this is looking more like the Archon that 5-0'd Meadow right before Christmas. So yeah, I'm super happy to see it, and this is also going to make a lot of people question their diet, because obviously eating pizza every day is not going to change your performance at all, and might as well just boost it. So yeah, don't criticize pizza too much. You can put anything on top of it after all and make it healthy too.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit before we go to a break. Let's talk about the map.
Pizza? Oh, I'm happy.
No, Ormond 3 is such an interesting pick for Blight, and I don't know. Do you have any opinions on how that map plays compared to the normal Ormond?
Yeah, my favorite is probably Pepperoni. Oh yeah, wait, we're talking about maps. Right. Yeah, Ormond. You know, it's always Ormond is one of those maps that you never really scrim or practice for in tournaments, because that is such an underused map. It's always been, at least when it came out, it's always been considered a super survivor-sided map that had so many resources now, but ever since they've made it smaller, more compact, and now also gave it variations, there's a good amount of variety on that map, and a lot of good dead zones you can establish as the killer. For example, the snowmobile that can spawn on... Don't even know which one that is, to be honest. Which Ormond of the 3 variations it is, but there's map variations of Ormond where you have that snow truck or the snowmobile in the corner of the map, and that's the only pallet there, basically. But this map has so many fillers still that you can work around, that you can extend chases quite significantly if you are confident and if you're lucky on those 50-50 performances. And that's really all it comes down to. And Blight, that is not really a killer that is going to be hindered much by the stronger palettes of this map. Of course, we have those what is considered god palettes on top of main building, on the upper floor at least, and the much weaker palettes downstairs. But then again, there's also variations with the palettes inside of that main building. Most of these short fillers are mostly just going to be a nuisance to the Blight, rather than actually the survivors establishing a sort of barricade between themselves and the killer. So it's more something going to be like, yeah, I just want him to not hit me with this sequence of rushes, and I just want to skip to the next more promising tile, because we still do have jungle gyms on the map, but also you can have any kind of jungle gym. You can get double windows on it, and that's going to be terrible. But there are also a couple of Ormond exclusive tiles that our killers have to reckon with. So yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see whether our survivors are going to try to really play out these rather precarious, poor, weak fillers, or if they are just going to use them for actual fillers to try to make it to the next stronger tile. But yeah, there are so many standout tiles that you have to play around as well. You have the snowmobile, you have the hut elevated on the rocks. You have Shack itself, and you have main building. And main building is going to be really difficult to play on, but Blight's ability is going to allow him to basically be all over the map. But there are many spots that you can slide off on as well.
Yeah, so it looks like we have all the survivors in the lobby here. It's going to be Everyday Pizza on the Blight once again. No surprises there.
Yeah.
This guy is playing every killer for Archon. And as we've said before, Blight is Archon's pick. So you got to be thinking that Everyday Pizza has been grinding this killer. He's been extremely confident in it. And he's going into this match with all of the momentum, Mathis, carrying his team to victory in that Wraith match with a 4K3. I mean, he's got to be riding the wind right now.
You know, Prion, that's also pretty funny, because in previous tournaments, or not even the last one, but I think like last year, whenever we had Wraith on, considering also the balance would be very restrictive of survivor perks, we'd see quite ridiculous consistent results with Wraith, usually ending with 4Ks within the range of 1 to 4 generators. And now we're 2 Wraith games into the winter circuit, and we've already established a 4K2 average with a 4K3 and a 4K1. So it might once again be Wraith's tournament unless teams find some sort of solution to it. But still, we need to take into consideration that our survivors have no exhaustion perks, and the killer practically has everything at his repertoire. Anything that's in the killer perk arsenal, he may take advantage of. And yeah, Blight is going to be much more restrictive, as there's no brutal strength allowed also, so he has to use his ability or a slower kick for most of these palettes. But then again, also Pain Risk, Grim Embrace, and Deadlock are not allowed since tier 1 balance. And survivors also have no individual perk bans, which means we are going to see Deli, we're going to see Blood Rush, we're going to see Iron Will, going to see DH, everything in use if our survivors successfully play around it. But yeah, we're loading into the game, Prion. Any last words before we are about to witness greatness of our first Blight performance?
Not really. I just can't wait to see if Archon is going to be able to take this series here. I think it would be quite the upset.
We are all excited. That's the consensus I'm detecting here. The loading screen really putting us on edge here, but yeah, we're in it anytime soon. Also, yeah, it's gonna be interesting because that's once again Everyday Pizza, that variety killer, playing everything for Archon, but on the other side, we're not going to see Ryan on the Blight, we're going to see Crow, so that is the third killer player for Team Rapture once we get to his game. But yeah, Everyday Pizza so far playing all games 4-4 now, and he already finds Slugger right from the cup, but then it's a ridiculously early hit onto Ryan. Our poor Death from the last game finding that Hex. I'm pretty sure he didn't even find that Hex in time, so that is huge for Everyday Pizza that he was able to extend the finding of that perk so early on.
Second set of rushes coming out now for Everyday Pizza. Good vault on that window from Ryan, forcing the break on the door. And now he's going to be pathing back toward the corner of the map. Looks like he has a 4-lane here. He's getting revealed by Undying here. Vault comes out from Everyday Pizza, and he's actually going to get that flick there. Ryan almost dodged away from that, but in the end, it's actually the Undying value is going to reveal Ryan's position and let Everyday Pizza get that very nice call out on the vault. First down already coming in here. Undying leaves the trial right as Ryan goes down.
Yeah, Undying certainly did its job. It didn't give him as much information as it could have throughout, or in the case of it existing for longer. But yeah, it helped him getting that super early down onto Ryan, at least that first. And also so fortunate that he was able to find him so early on. Ryan revealing himself with very aggressive pathing or scratch marks towards that main building entrance on the backside. If you, based on the spawn point of Everyday Pizza's Blight. Now it will be Fasty next in chase, actually finding a tile as well, one of those longer windows, but opts to just run a loop around the pallet, takes the M1, and that is they're probably gonna go for the deliverance here. If he gets it denied, he might be able to deny it, no. But if he does down right now within 15 seconds, I was about to say, then he could have denied it, but yeah, he just wants to get it out of the trial as quickly as possible, and now he's probably going to continue tunneling Ryan as they already pop a generator in the background too, and continuing their 2-split, knowing fully well that no one has to go for Fasty, considering that Deliverance has now come into action. And Ryan also making so much distance with that Sprint Burst Blood Rush combination, allowing him to use...
He still has the Blood Rush activation.
Yeah, was gonna say.
Yeah, Ryan here, he's waiting to use the second sprint burst here. Going to trigger it now, makes it back around the pallet one more time. The slow vault there. Nicely done from Ryan there, able to just use that extra distance from the 2 sprint bursts to make it around that filler pallet. Now he's playing something that doesn't have a pallet though. He needs to make it back to the pallet gym. Not gonna happen though. Missed check spot there from Ryan. Nicely done from Everyday Pizza, and he's actually going to leave him down. Maybe suspicious of a decisive strike here on Ryan, or maybe he just wants more pressure. Everyday Pizza here. The Ruin is still up, so he can't go for those eruption kicks just yet, but he is going to pick Ryan up once again, realize that there's no decisive strike, hook him next to a generator with progress, and there are only 3 generators left remaining here. If they leave Ryan on the hook for quite a while to just sit on the generators, survivors of Rapture are going to be in a good spot here. It's really anyone's game right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, especially since the person he's tunneling out is the Blood Rush user. Of course, it could have been worse if Ryan on top of that also had decisive strike. But yeah, he's not that egotistical whenever he makes the builds for his team, which I'm just going to assume based on the fact he's the captain, but also the most experienced one on the roster. Yeah, Everyday Pizza trying to spread out the pressure now, trying to get more hits onto our other survivors just to make it easier in the later stages of the game, but he also needs to make sure that he is close to Ryan the moment he gets unhooked, because a double Blood Rush or double Sprint Burst with the help of Blood Rush could be detrimental and allow Ryan to escape or basically flee out of line of sight that Everyday Pizza is trying to have between themselves and the survivor. He's probably just gonna go for early M1s on our survivors to at least just get them injured, split the pressure. No, we're gonna see a trade for some reason also. Game Over takes another clobber to the back of that. That's gonna be our survivor slugged, and Everyday Pizza also opts to immediately go for this pickup, knowing because Ryan just ran to Shack, he's gonna corner himself.
Yeah, the Shack pellet is up, but once that Shack pellet is gone, there's not gonna be much left for Ryan to use here. Everyday Pizza rushing through the shack there, not able to find Ryan though, as he paths tightly around the shack there. Looks like, no, pallet's still not dropped. He's found the blood here, goes for a window vault. His rushes aren't quite recharged yet. Ryan, he's actually going to leave the shack and go somewhere else. He feels like he's losing the generators, and that means he's leaving his potential tunnel out. Nice flick there on Denazan. Call out that he's not going to drop that pallet, and he was correct. So free hit there onto the ace. Every survivor injured, but Mathis, where is Ryan?
He's probably already started working on the shack generator, trying to get more pressure overall. Denazan tries to go for the crouch check, but it is not as effective against Blight as it is against Billy, even in the upcoming patch that's supposed to fix it, but or change it at least. But yeah, Ryan will actually be healed now on Shack. Will be able to make use of that Shack pellet now. Doesn't have Blood Rush available anymore, and also still exhausted, so won't have that Sprint Burst at his repertoire. And Ryan will take that, should take that first injury. No! 0 ping moment. Ryan will be able to get that drop on the pallet, and is also subsequently stunned. our Blight player who's trying to go for extremely quick rushes gets a bit caught up in his own camera and opts to just go for the M1 instead, hoping to then connect 5 rushes to the imminent death of Ryan without him being able to make any more tiles. But that exhaustion is gonna come back soon. He's on the kill off the map with the snowmobile, but no, Everyday Pizza just decides to go back to his generators. Still has Ruin up, so he would be able to get a bit of regression on these generators if he manages to pressure push Alcidaris off them.
Yeah, only one generator left now. Gonna be a second down onto game over here. He's lost his tunnel out in Ryan, but I mean, it seems like Everyday Pizza has abandoned the tunnel out and is trying to get as many fresh hooks as he can. Ryan instantly healed in the distance. Good coordination from Rapture on that. But getting a hook and actually finding another healthy survivor near that hook. Good for Everyday Pizza here, as Nazan takes another hit, and he's running towards a pallet that's not very strong. Now, how is your bump logic, Everyday Pizza? Because this pallet is definitely playable, as Nazan actually going to hold W. Nice flick there, right around that snow pile. And Nazan going to go down. The generator that is next to the hook that Game Over is on has so much progress that, in fact, it looks like they're going to be doubling Shack Gen instead. If Everyday Pizza can make a read on this... Yeah. This is so risky for the survivors. If the killer comes over here and he leaves?
He's trying to bait them to go for the save in case there's someone nearby, but he doesn't expect them to double this. He's expecting only one person to be here. So as you said, this is super risky if they do get spotted, which is still unlikely because every sane man would expect there to be someone nearby going for the pickup and the unhook. But no, they're just doubling that generator. He's still waiting for someone to drop down and get game over, or at least Nathan. But no one's there. They're both on that gate. Both have that gate next to Shack as well. And it will be Fasti who is opening that gate. Doesn't get hit here, so Ryan is just going to be able to make a run for it and pick up Nathan with that live. Also, basically going to make it impossible for Everyday Pizza to get that early kill.
Yeah, Nathan going to get picked up here. Seems like Fasti no longer in chase. Yeah. And it's going to be Everyday Pizza coming out of the main building here. Not a very strong pallet here. Ryan, nicely done, takes a hit there for his teammate. And it looks like he really wants this fresh hook. He wants this ace. And no, he's actually going to be trying to connect it over to the door to catch Fasti, the fresh hook survivor. Not enough time, though, before Fasti was able to finish the door. So he has to settle for getting this ace. But that's not even guaranteed now, Mathis. He's wasted a lot of time here. Oh, okay. But Nazan runs directly into the killer. That is going to be the fresh hook survivor going down. And there is a play here where Rapture can get more stages out the door. And I'm curious if they even want to go for it. It doesn't look like they do. But just for you people in chat, the play here would have been that they do a double save and make sure that Ryan is the one that dies. Yep. And then that would have been another one-stage trade in favor of Rapture. But against an S-tier killer, it's completely understandable that they don't want to go for that play. Getting 2 out against the play is quite an accomplishment for Rapture survivors.
We're gonna see what our Rapture killer has to say about this as well, because I was gonna say that not getting a 4K here is pretty... not too promising for our upcoming trial, because Crow, that's who's most likely going to play for Rapture, if not, then color me surprised, because he's been playing that, or he's been maining Blight for a very long time, and he's also played him previously in DBDLeague. Something I pointed out when we had a campfire chat prior to the games is that Rapture managed to get into the playoffs, into the playoffs of All Hallows League last year, and their first opponent was Elysium, where they lost 3-1. And Prion, guess that one set that they won. What killer was it?
What was it?
Blight, and Crow played for them. So I'm still really dumbfounded as to why Archon would decide to pick Blight against them, considering they beat the winner of our last tournament, where we should expect a survivor roster that is very well equipped against whatever is thrown at them. And Crow was able to secure the 4K there relatively early on too, so this is a pretty risky pick against Team Rapture. So I can imagine that we'd actually go the length here of going to 2-2, and then seeing the much anticipated Houndmaster in a tiebreaker in a final 5th set of tonight. So yeah, very different from the 3-0 we saw previously, where we now have 2 teams neck and neck. and no real clear solution, or not a real clear winner so far, with Archon pulling off upset after upset, considering Rapture are considered to be a very a superior, or the superior team, usually or mostly by the audience as well. I'm not entirely sure if we did predictions before this, in the Twitch chat at least, but most people would have expected them to 3-1 or 3-0 this, and now Archon, out of the blue, just currently in the lead over 2-1.
Yeah, and the win condition here for Crow is going to be 10 stages, and obviously 4 fresh if it's going to be 10 stages. Everyday Pizza was actually able to get 9 stages 4 fresh there, and while you would hope for a 4K when you're playing the Blight, given some of the plays that we saw coming out from Rapture, I would say that 9 stages is not too bad. It really, I feel like the critical moment in that game was Everyday Pizza not actually checking Shackgen. When he had a survivor on the ground and one on hook. I think that could have immediately got him a 4K if he'd actually checked Shack.
Yeah, that was the really risky situation there, because everybody, or I'm pretty sure most people, would have 100% expected there to be someone near the hook or the pickup ready to go for it, because that's like that's essentially the situation where either they're doubling Shack and they get the gen in time, but then they're also going to sacrifice their survivor and no one's going for the pickup, or you have someone else going for the pickup, most likely not going to pop their gen in time, but at least they get to reset and the survivor doesn't die on hook. But then, of course, something could have gone wrong, and then you would have 3 people down there in that situation, and then no matter what you do, if you pop their gen or not, it's going to end in a 4K, either on 1 or 0, because they didn't have any second chance perks available at the time if another survivor had gone down there. So really difficult situation to judge there, and it's basically just, it's a pick your poison situation for the killer. Either you go with your guts or you play it safe. And yeah, he decided to play it safe, or maybe he felt like there were 2 people, or his guts told him that there must be someone there for the save. There ended up not being anyone. And then sort of like the situation we had in the Spirits game at the very start was when, I think it was, who was it again? Whoever it was, we had 2 survivors doubling that generator on the windmill/water tower, and our killer carrying the survivor so far. Oh yeah, that was Rapture Spirit. Deciding to carry the survivor so far, like across the map basically, to get to that, get close to that generator of high progress to nullify it after upon having hooked the survivor. But then they ended up doubling it, and they popped it in his face, and no one's been hit, and that's sort of the situation we had here, because they may have doubled that generator in that corner and put themselves at a disadvantage, putting themselves into this dead end, but our killer didn't profit from it because he got hit on neither of them. Of course, the other 2 died in the meantime, but he didn't get any pressure on the 2 last remaining survivors. So, and in the end, the end game was in favor of them, because they still have 3 people in the game, and both exit gates powered. So yeah, would you judge that any differently, or it's difficult to say, because I think anything could have happened in that situation, really.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing about endgame situations in DBD. Well, I mean, and honestly, to an extent, any competitive situation in DBD, there's so many variables flying all at once, and the killer has to make split-second decisions that completely change the outcome of the match. Like, for example, like we saw Everyday Pizza, he was chasing the injured ace at the 4-lane tile, fresh hook survivor, but he immediately rushed over to the door to try to catch the Tory, who was also a fresh hook, but 1.5 seconds was the difference between that Tory opening the door and not. So that could have gotten him 2 fresh hooks. And it's just a lot of the time these games are just decided by seconds, and just so many variables happening at once. The killer needs to make a decision, and the decision that they do make ends up affecting 5 different variables that eventually get us our result. So stuff in Dead by Daylight rarely goes as planned. There's just so many variables.
Yeah, and there we have the purpose of scrimmages, because it's all it is rinse and repeat of many different options that could happen. And then if you get lucky, then you play out the exact same situation in a tournament as you practiced. But sometimes you can also just have situations like this where practically anything could happen, and you have to improvise, especially from the killer's point of view, or also in the survivor's point of view of strategizing and making immediate plans or being super prompt about it, because it's pretty difficult. As a killer, it's usually making one decision or another, and then it's down to mechanical skill. But on the survivor's side, it can sometimes be entire game plans, and especially if you have an in-game leader on your team, he has to orchestrate or has to lead everybody at the same time, and if someone doesn't manage to pull it off according to the plan, it might all just crumble. We've seen that we've seen that example, I'd say, in the Hillbilly game, and also in the Spirit game, where they have this certain system that they wanted to execute, this plan they had, and they were successful in doing so, and it all worked out, and they hardly sacrificed any stages to the killer, because they were able to pull off their plan, essentially. Of course, it's still DBD, so if the killer over and over fails mechanically, or the survivors are, on the other hand, are successful in avoiding injuries and avoiding mind games and so on, avoiding any sort of options or opportunities the killer has to exert pressure on either their progress or their health states. If the survivors manage to do that, then there's, of course, still a way to win. That's why chases matter so much as well, because it can be this unexpected variable would be the chase time then, because that can never be consistent. So it's difficult, especially if you have Blight games like the one that we just had. And it's also funny that it sparked such philosophical dialectic between us two. But yeah, that's DVD for you. If you want to be over-analytic, then it can become really interesting to analyze decision-making and these situations, these games, as they play out in front of our very eyes. And also, if anyone's wondering why the wait time is a bit longer, unfortunately, one of our survivor players experienced a PC crash. It happens. No mistake. No certain team fault or whatever. It's just going to be slightly postponed until our game is just going to be slightly postponed. But at least you can have the wonderful likes of Prion and I talking to you.
Yeah, as the fourth survivor whose PC crashed is not quite back in the lobby just yet. I guess, what do you think we need to see from Crow here, Mathis, to reach this 10-stage win con for Rapture and send us into a tiebreaker?
Yeah, I'd say basically the same thing he did against Elysium, which would be extremely quick mechanical decisions. So that's something we saw on Everyday Pizza, unfortunately, where sometimes, I want to coin this term, over-bumping into a corner or a certain tile would cause the camera to sort of jitter, and you would lose track of where the survivor is exactly. That can't happen, because that might just end your chase right then and there on the killer side. And also, it was really unfortunate that he was tunneling out Orion with Blood Rush Sprint Burst, because that technically allows you to always die in the right position, or at least make it cross-map the moment you get unhooked. Truth, I know it's still, because Blight 5 rushes, he's basically got 5 sprint bursts of his own, that trumps your 2, but that's still tremendous distance you can make, especially if the Blight doesn't have a line of sight on you for, I want to say, split second, because within that split second, a lot of things can happen. Does the survivor carry on running? Does he stand still? Does he double back? And so forth. So yeah, it's what Archon needs, or what Archon needs to do is they need whoever is being tunneled out, or whoever's in chase first, has to have several anti-tunnel perks, either Blood Rush or Decisive Strike, and they definitely need to get the deli value off as well, in the same way that the Rapture survivors were able to pull it off just now. So yeah, that's on Archon, and Crow just needs to do what he did against Elysium, because that was very promising.
Yeah, and you know what, Mathis? In every game that we've had in this series that has Deliverance allowed, Deliverance has just gone off without a hitch. The killer has just immediately picked up the Deliverance survivor as they get the successful trade, and then they've immediately pulled themselves off hook. We haven't seen the Deliverance survivor get sniped once yet in any of these S-tier sets. So, scratch marks found, and actually already a first hit there from Crow. Nova, a little bit out of position there, immediately takes a first hit there, and is going to have to drop the Scod pallet on main, but the rushes are already recharged here. Nova, what do you have for us in the chase? And actually, very interesting pathing there. Going to drop off the ledge, goes for a flick there, and actually has to go onto a different survivor. I believe that was probably the balanced landing out of Nova. Now, Everyday Pizza taking an M1 as the rushes recharge in the open. This is danger for Archon. has one filler pallet, going to have to drop it there. But if Crow's bump logic is on point here, Everyday Pizza is not going to last very long. Goes for the rush around the outside, doesn't go for the vault, actually misses the flick there. Very nice pathing from Everyday Pizza, and now he's actually going to make another tile here. It's going to be a TL wall, not very strong, but if he can somehow make it back to that filler pallet, this chase is going to be really good.
Wins the 50, and I'm pretty sure if he just dies corner, that should be 2 gens. Oh, where's another somehow handle? What's going on there? 2 50s on the T-wall. Impressive by Everyday Pizza. Really important as well for the pace of the game. They pop main building right from the get-go, and another is already 70%. So now that we've got a double-dot generator popping, that means the one survivor will be immediately in position for the rescue, and the other will be able to get right back on a different gen. Most likely going to be Nova, just doing a gen in the corner of the map, because then it's always going to be a waste of time by the killer to go for that survivor, even though it's so lucrative to go for the injured player. But he manages to interrupt the generator that is so far progressed, and he's probably gonna go for it. Oh yeah, he has the pop eruption combination this time as well, but that is gonna be really difficult to play around, and also a gift of pain. So demotivating our survivors from resetting, and if they do, there's going to be a harsh penalty on them. Last second BT is not going to be enough. Everyday Pizza is going to go down right as that endurance status effect runs out, and if he hadn't made it upstairs, that would have bought so much time. And also, dear Mr. Crow is currently tunneling out the one player that has practically 0 anti-tunnel. So that is super huge for him. That is massive for him, and really detrimental for our survivor side.
Yeah, this is looking pretty bad for Archon. They have to find some way to get Everyday Pizza out of this situation. And that's going to be, oh no, a failed committal onto that generator, going to result in another pop landing onto that gen. And Mr. Next Time takes a hit for it too. It's going to be a fast unhook onto the tunnel out and another hit. All survivors injured now. And Everyday Pizza only has one more chase here, even takes the BT hit through the pallet. Okay, I mean, good attempt there on the blind, whoever that was with the flashlight, but it's just not going to be enough. Everyday Pizza already down on the ground, and that is, we're actually going to be seeing the Mori use here, and that's going to be a survivor dead at 4 gens remaining. This is starting to look like it is over in favor of Rapture.
Pallet save who? I barely know that I've got an Emily Mori instead. Yeah, now we've also, once again, we are back at this one generator that was so close to completion, and Crow will be able to interrupt it one more time. Basically, or at this point, I'd be so frustrated on the side of the soil as well. I'd say, yeah, okay, we're just not gonna do that gen anymore. Guys, we have to do something else. And yeah, but this is now huge for Crow, as he's currently standing with one survivor did it, 3 generators remaining, and the survivors are also opting to go for that reset instead of committing to these generators. And also, it's just that Alchemist ring that is so powerful. Those 20% extensions on the rushes here. Nice little attempt by the body block there, trying to throw Crow off course, similar to when he Crow basically throws like a boxer trying to throw a jab, and Mr. Next Time was trying to take that cross off its trajectory, but unfortunately he was able to connect with the tree right after. So he may have not gotten the headshot there, but did get the body shot instead. Mathis trying to get back on one of these generators here. I also really dig the skin that he's using for Nia here, with the grey hair and the silver hairish with the white to grey shirt, really but trying to blend in with the Mount Ormond resort. And yeah, we're going to see that unhook really quickly also, but Mr. Next Time in big trouble. It seems like Crow's instead just gonna try to go for the individual hook stages here, trying to get as much pressure out of Pop Eruption and his overall map traversal as possible. There's absolutely no reason right now to just focus down on one survivor when you could be pressuring them all at the same time.
And it looks like going to be Nova taking a hit here and dropping one of the only pallets in this side of the map here. He's trying to make it back to that pallet and does not make it with the nice double rush there onto the rock. Going to be Nova slugged out here. It seems like Crow has an idea that Deliverance might be in play, but isn't quite sure who it's on. But actually, you know what? He might actually know exactly who Deliverance is on, and that's why he's not picking up. Why he's not picking up Nova. So gonna get picked up in the distance there. There are still ways for Archon to win this, Mathis, if Crow continues to be indecisive, and a dead hard comes out from Mr. Next Time, just narrowly avoiding disaster there, but only delaying it for a few seconds as there really are no more pallets on this side of the map whatsoever.
It does manage to get that quick connection with the lunge onto Mr. Next Time once again. Currently looking at another survivor injured, he might as well just go for the full slug here as he gets that aura reveal on that generator thanks to Eruption. I know he's instead just going to go back for Mr. Next Time, and I believe this is also second stage on him, with our other survivors being the only ones currently looking at a clean sheet of stages. With that still trying to get pressure on this generator, it is going to be so difficult because they really need to get all of these 3 generators pumping if they want to make it out the gate. And while the killer is exerting this amount of pressure with one survivor already being eliminated, this is going to be a really difficult call because Crow has also so far been very convincing in his mechanics. A very patient Blight player, trying to be super patient around these flickable tiles, I want to say, where he's more playing for, he's bumping several times in the same spot to sort of motivate or intimidate the survivors and forcing them to make a decision within, like, in the moment. So, not really a planned decision, just basically out of instinct, reaction to the stimuli that our killer is providing, and he does get another hit onto Nova, so it's going to be super difficult to get Mr. Next Time off this hook, as considering also he is soon perishing, so it's going to be a really tough call here, whether our survivor Stats and Nova will be able to get him off the hook even.
Yeah, and we've been in the 3v1 for so long now, but it's just all about Crow continuing to end these chases, keep people injured, and make sure to punish unhooks here, because when you're in the 3v1, making those unhooks difficult is just so much more punishing than usual. And I mean, as long as Crow continues to play well around these hooks, they're not going to be finishing all these generators. And my apologies, I can't see the screen share right now. I'm trying to fix it, but I'm not sure if you can either, Mathis.
Yeah, that's also the thing right now. We've lost signal, at least on the caster side, so if you're watching this on Twitch, you've got no issues whatsoever. We're currently looking at a blacked out grey screen, and we're trying to fix it at our earliest convenience, which would be immediately. Well, we got sound, and we've got screen. Hello, that is 1 survivor dead and 3 survivors injured, so hey, we didn't miss much.
Yep, and they are still at 3 generators remaining. So in no better of a situation than we just saw before, as it's going to be chase at the TL wall here once again onto Mr. Next Time, I think, and that is going to be, actually he's just going to leave and rush back towards the generators that the survivors were doubling. Rush around the main building there, nice bump logic there out of Crow, able to get through all of those doorways and tight areas there. Not actually that easy to do when you're playing the Blight. Especially for someone like me who doesn't play the Blight all that much. It's really impressive the way that these killers can like fit through these small areas and get the precise rushes onto survivors that are pathing very well against the Blight. So that is going to be Nova going down once again. 2 survivors on the ground, one of them about to be hooked, and they're all injured. And like I said before, Mathis, the chances are almost 0 that these generators are going to get done.
Yeah, also, I'm pretty sure that Crow isn't even going for the win condition anymore. It's become more than evident that he's very confident. The battle has already been won. Obviously, the war's not over, because we are absolutely looking at a 5th set once this has concluded. But he is really trying to go for this 4K on 3. He wants it for the stats. Very unfortunate dead art here. This Next Time was already out of reach for Crow, but he decides to do it for safety purposes. But yeah, Nova is... Nova being hooked now, he's trying to even out the pressure, he's trying to level the playing ground here of all these survivors. Gets stuck on the fence there, but there isn't even anyone there. Gets a bit caught up in the action. Yeah, Crow's really trying to go for this 4K on 3, and I wonder if it's even worth it, or if that's even, this is going to open a window of opportunity for our survivors to actually win this and get even pressure on the 3 remaining generators they need to repair. But then again, Eruption, if any of these go down, there's going to be immediate deduction on all of these generators. Beautifully timed ball tip by Mr. Next Time manages to get to the TL on the opposite side of the map from the generators, but there we have that Eruption and the failed call out, or the poorly timed call out. And that is going to be all of our remaining survivors revealed by that eruption. All of them are also injured. So all he needs to do now is go for the 4-man slug, and he has the 4k3. He has been so eagerly awaiting, and it doesn't look like he's going to stop just at this chase. He's going to continue pushing further into it to get everybody on the ground. And yeah, Prion, so we're wanting a signal.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't need to be able to see the screen to tell you that Crow is doing a victory lap here, carrying his team to victory in the Blight set. And really, his bump logic was so solid in this game. He was able to find so many hits through tight areas. And let's not discredit these survivors from Archon. You could tell by the way that these guys were pathing around the tiles and through these doorways that they are quite good against the Blight. But with an S-tier killer like Blight, for every one thing that survivors can do to delay a chase, Blight is going to have some sort of like 10,000 DPI tech that allows him to just kill the survivor. So Crow, he's able to hit those nice flicks, get through those tight doorways, and counter the good pathing out of the Archon survivors. And like I said, he's carried his team to victory here. Rapture is going to tie this series up 2-2. And Mathis, we are going to be the first casters ever to cast the Houndmaster in DBDLeague.
History has been made. I'm really looking forward to that killer because there's so much you can do mechanically. It's pretty impressive, actually. But yeah, we'll get to talk about that once we're actually in the set. But yeah, with Crows, such a dominant performance here, Fats is our last man standing. I don't think that Fats has even been hooked yet. So our Grain here trying to blend in with the snow will ultimately be found, of course, because those games are not very far away, and he's got good distance, and a good flick around the border will put the nail in the coffin. And we see a chain connecting as well as Nia is now being worried on the ground. Goodbye, Fats. It was an effort in vain, unfortunately. 40-3 compared to the escapes we saw in the previous game. Then considering that this was Archon's pick for some reason. Yeah, I'm not sure if I got the order of picks wrong, or if this is actually Archon's pick, but yeah, that's pretty wild to see that they picked Blight, considering the difference in outcomes.
Yeah, so you know what, Mathis, let's talk about the Houndmaster here. Because I'm sure most people in the chat and at home just have never seen her played in a competitive setting. So, newest killer in Dead by Daylight, the Houndmaster, when she came out, she was frankly terrible. One of the worst killers ever released, was probably getting an average of like 2 stages in your average public match, was extremely difficult. She was extremely difficult to play. There was just not a lot of reward for actually playing her well. This was a killer that was like as hard for a new player as maybe something like Singularity, but for like less than half of the reward if you actually learned how to play her. So shortly after her release, Behavior decided to ship quite a lot of buffs to the Houndmaster, to the point now where she's actually probably an A-tier killer. She's got a lot of tools at her disposal with the dog. And it's actually quite interesting the way that pallets are played with her now. It all depends on the way that the dog vaults over pallets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much you can do with that killer. It's sort of reminiscent of a lot of abilities we've seen in the game, but tremendously modified. I mean, it looks the most like probably Dracula's wolf form, where you get those 2 rushes in quick succession that you have to execute. But then it's also you have you basically have like full control over the direction of where you're trying to go. You're slightly restricted on the second, but whereas Houndmaster, there's no restriction at all, and that rush is long, very long, and you can also pause it whenever you want to. So there's a lot to do with positioning, a lot to do with very quick decision making. And yeah, there's a lot of things you can do, and also a lot of lucky situations. I've scrimmed the killer once or twice already before, and I've seen a lot of friends of mine that main the Houndmaster send me countless of clips of them destroying people in their games. So there's a lot you can do really with this killer. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this will be handled in a competitive environment, if we're still going to see those risky hound plays where basically the dog is going to go the distance really, and it's not just going to be used for safe plays. But then again, the dog is not only used to restrain survivors, but it can also down people once they're injured. So yeah, and then personally, I've always felt like the mend status effect that you get on top of your base kit with the dog, and so like once the survivor is marked and you get an M1 on them, they also get pumped into deep wounds. I think that's a bit overkill personally, because they can already have so much. So
yeah, it is a little bit overkill, but the radius on the radius on the dog search is quite small, so it's pretty easy for survivors to like hear that the dog is coming to search somewhere, and then they see it coming, and then they get out of the circle if they really don't want to get hit by that deep wound.
But you also don't want to leave that gen if the killer's
you
sending.
also don't want to leave the gen.
And the speed boost is great.
True.
That's amazing. The speed boost, that's pretty crucial. I'm happy that's in.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. It's going to be Ryan here on the Houndmaster for Rapture. I'm interested to see if he'll go for any plays where he tries to use the search speed boost in chase. I've definitely seen some Houndmasters do that on the public matches, and depending on the situation, it can be extremely powerful. But then also, one other thing I wanted to mention is that you know that the dog like has a second dash that you can redirect after you send it out. But a lot of what makes the Houndmaster really strong in chase is not actually using that redirect, but threatening it to zone the survivor and then just M1ing them instead.
Oh yeah, it's always pretty difficult to tell. It's similar to, I want to say, Demogorgon, where it's pretty similar to Demogorgon, where once you hold down or ready, you charge up your ability, it doesn't force you to use it. You kind of just have it charged. So the Houndmaster's indicator, or Demogorgon's indicator, would obviously be he opens up his mouth and he spreads his arms out. And with the Houndmaster, it's the whistle. So you're going to have that audio cue that's going to notify you when that ability is charged or being charged. And after that, it's also kind of like Deathslinger, where it's once you have that gun up, does he shoot or does he not? Is he just gonna hold it and zone you? So that's kind of something similar with Houndmaster happening as well, but it's gonna take a bit longer for the dog to connect with you than the spare or than Demogorgon Shred does, but it's still pretty dang fast. So we're going to see a lot of zoning with that most likely. But then again, also the haste ability, what you pointed out, that is super interesting to think about, and something I did not take into consideration, because to me that's sort of like kind of like with Demo, where you also have like the portals. That's what the speed boost is for, and then the dog itself is just for chase. But not really combining it. I guess you do have more potential with that here. So as you pointed out, it's an interesting fact to take into consideration when spectating these games, and to see and investigate whether or not our killer players will actually take advantage of it.
Yeah, I'm also really interested to see what add-ons Ryan goes for here. As like I mean, we're witnessing history being made here. First DBDLeague match for the Houndmaster. I really can't wait. I mean, especially because it's a tiebreaker as well, 2-2 between Archon and Rapture. Who is going to win this qualification match? Will it be Archon on the upset, or Rapture the established favorite here? Yeah. And it looks like we're going to be getting into the game right now. Coal Tower, Houndmaster, and let's start out with a search.
And a bunch of perks we can talk about, as well as add-ons. So we're going to be seeing a brown and a yellow add-on, considering the killer is relatively new. I'm just going to read off their perk descriptions that I've, of course, come prepared with. So the brown add-on will be the Young Coconut. That's going to increase the distance of the initial chase path by 20%. So quite a lot of distance on that first, I want to call it rush, but yeah, obviously like the dog being sent out. And the yellow add-on will be the barley meal, which is going to increase the distance of the initial chase path by another 20%. So yeah, we've got a lot of distance increases here. Already 3 survivors marked as well, but Ryan's still struggling to find a chase that he can connect with. Also, a lot of X-Bergs on his build in combination with Pain Resonance, so he's hoping to get a couple of individual stages here. And I've seen people with this with the Houndmaster flick that ability basically. So like the moment you're in that dog and then immediately redirect it within a split second. But yeah, we see Ryan played relatively safely here. Also for the zoning aspect that you were talking about, so threatening to use that second run, but then you end up not using it. Also, that's already 2 totems cleansed. Unfortunately, Claudette will be bit right around that corner. And that is going to be that first down at 5 generators remaining right next to main, where we can already hear a bunch of progress on.
Yeah, so like you said with those add-ons, Mathis, essentially the first chase command on the dog is going to be about as long as both of Western stashes. Doubling up on those add-ons, it's going to be very strong here, and it really kind of tells us what kind of playstyle Ryan's going to be going for here. Probably not going to be redirecting the dog all that much. Going to be trying to actually, oh no, Mr. Next Time just walked right into the dog there around the corner, and is going to take a free hit there. Very nicely done from Ryan. He's actually, yeah, he's just going to take that free hit and go back towards the hook.
That's also where it can kind of become more threatening than Death Swinger, because I feel like that pull-in might not be as consistent, but it can at times be faster. So if you manage to snipe a survivor with the dog, you can usually connect it with a hit quite easily. Yeah, just completely stuck while you're still in that. It's still in 115% of your movement speed, bit faster than Death Swinger, I'd say. But yeah, there's also so much you can do on the survivor's side, so I'm really curious to see how they play against the Houndmaster on pallets especially, because what survivors do, they kind of panic whenever the dog is sent out and then they insta-drop that pallet. But what you can also do is basically you just camp the pallet, and even if the dog is holding on to you, then you can just wait for the Houndmaster to come out and then drop the pallet. Either it takes out the dog and you can run out scot-free, or you can also just wait, because the dog doesn't force you or doesn't make it so you're unable to drop the pallet. So you can kind of just wait on it and wait what the Houndmaster is doing and then just drop it last second. Then costing the Houndmaster time and also immediately freeing yourself from the dog. You don't have to insta-drop it, and then also that's just going to allow the Houndmaster to send the dog over the pallet.
Yeah, in my experience playing against the Houndmaster so far, that has been the optimal strategy, is to just simply not drop pallets. You can't afford to give her that dog vaulting over the pallet interaction. Even if she hits you with the dog and you're on a pallet, that gives you the opportunity to stun the dog and continue your chase. As he tries to use the search command and chase there, but is a little bit of a misclick there, as the search command doesn't go as far as he wanted it to. Redirects the dog there and completely misses there. That's going to be so much distance for Mr. Next Time. Makes it to Shaq as well. That's just going to show how punishing it is to miss the redirect on the dog there. And still has an idea that somebody is over here on the bottom side of the map. Redirects the dog there. Nicely done. Kind of a snipe there onto the Claudette. And that's going to be another injury here. Can he cut this survivor off before they make the shack? Actually, yes. Stuck at the 4 lane now is this Claudette. They have it's actually the window side here, and they are not going to make that filler pellet there. Claudette goes down. It's going to be another hook for Ryan. Actually sniffing out a potential save there. Tries to redirect the dog. Barely going to miss there onto Nova. Dog returning here. Ryan seems to be scared that somebody's coming in for a save. But nothing going to be happening there. As going to be looking for a pain resonance here. This hook over on the side of the map must be a pain resonance. Yeah, going to hit that gen right there in the middle of the map. Because if that wasn't a pain resonance, then there would be no reason for him not to use that hook straight in front of the main. That one must not be a scourge hook, as another redirect hit there onto Nova. Ryan doing quite well with the dog so far. They have 3 generators remaining, and as we've seen, Mathis, the one that has the most progress right now is only about halfway done.
And there's only one person working on that as well, since we need another survivor in position for the rescue. Ryan is able to shut down the center of this map quite successfully. I also want to point out, based on the perks, that our survivors have enabled a different approach to the game, or whole different playstyle ever since they cleansed that ruin. Oh, epic by dog. Oh, never mind, he's come back for vengeance. Because the moment you cleanse that ruin, obviously, when you get pushed off a generator, it's not going to regress anymore. So what they can do is something that I heard Rayoxium coin it first, and I've ever since included in actual call-outs whenever I play scrimmage or tournament games, is basically you seesaw. You play a seesaw around the generator, so picture a seesaw and the generator will be in the center of it, and you have one survivor sitting on each side of of the seesaw, and then based on where the killer is trying to push away from the generator, the other survivor then comes back in, and then you kind of just pre-leave it, and then the other person rotates back in, and so forth. Basically playing super defensively. But that's because the Houndmaster at heart isn't a one killer, so he's never going to be able to be as mobile as Nurse, Blight, or an Oni ability. So you can play that protectively around it, and then also always sort of avoid getting her pressure by just pre-leaving generators. But our survivors already gave too much pressure, too much power to the Houndmaster at the start of the trial, where it is now backfiring, and they will not be able to play as defensively any longer as Nixie is being stomped to death on the ground.
Now it's going to be one generator remaining here for for Archon. They are not in too bad of a spot here if they're able to get this last generator done. But getting down to one generator against such a strong killer like the Houndmaster, see, that's crazy to say when I was there when she came out and she was one of the worst killers in the game. But, oh, hit through the balance landing there. Nova gets mind-gamed through the balance landing. That is devastating for Archon, as it's going to be another free down for Ryan, hooking right in the middle of the map. That survivor's dead on hook, and I think that's almost going to make up for the lack of a 3-gen here, Mathis.
I'm pretty sure that that play alone may have just won Ryan the game, despite the incredible gens that they've been able to set up. But that down alone, that should have just never happened. Also love Ryan using the dog to expose survivors hiding in a locker, because Killer Instinct is not going to be blocked by lockers. Even if you're in a Legion ability, you're still going to get a reading on survivors hiding in a locker that are healthy once you proc that ability or get a successful ability on someone. Still one generator remaining only. We might be in the 3v1, but they've got decent pressure on that generator on those generators in the respective corners. Everyday Pizza comes in for the rescue. Ryan is gonna try to connect a little bit quick down. Will he be successful with the help of his allies? Sends the dog straight into Shack and gets stuck on the corner, but manages to hug around it. Still misses that second decisive attack by the dog, and this the next time is already 60% progress on that generator in the corner as Nova continues to take the killer's aggro. Misses the window here. Somehow still going to be able to avoid it. Will the Houndmaster vote after he claimed the down? Yes, she will.
There's a decisive strike in play here, though, Mathis.
Yep. And Everyday Pizza on the miss and immediately walks away from the generator, not trying to be exposed. Nova, okay, the play was to act stupid, so you get the decisive strike off as Nova ran into the wall there, instead of going for the window, and going upstairs to get revenge with that balance landing, but this time the Houndmaster's not even going to continue chasing.
If Nova hadn't gone down there, somehow that decisive strike would have run out. Everyday Pizza now in chase at the TL wall. Uses the lithe, gonna get distance there. Dog redirect coming in, and it's going to miss. Everyday Pizza is having great pathing in these chases so far. Crucial dodges coming out onto those chase commands, and these chases have to be long. Like, if Archon wants to win this game, their survivors need to come up big in these chases here. Another dodge there coming out from Mr. Next Time. He might make it over to this TL window. Yes, he will. Makes it down the map, and now he's going to be playing this TL fresh. Wins the 50-50 there. Going to make it to the L wall. Not enough time to send the dog over the wall, and actually he's going to have another redirect option here. Gonna miss again, and now he's going to be stuck on the edge map, and the generator is completed, Mathis. Such great chases here out of these survivors. They're able to finish the last gen, and now with 3 survivors standing and both doors activated, actually the chase command, or the search command, not going to be able to be used. There's no gen to tie it to there, and the doors are being opened.
Wow. I can imagine it turned out to be could spell victory for the Archon, considering how new this are. There's also no Noed, and he finds the only healthy person. He's trying to hinder as much movement as possible with the dog, trying to get... I was gonna say, he's trying to get him stuck here, but yeah, that's not gonna be enough. We now have a second survivor come in to take a potential down with less status on them. Nova's trying to play the backpack here for Everyday Pizza, trying to take the aggro off, manages to take the dog, but Everyday Pizza's now zoned behind Water Tower, behind the center of the map. He might just make it. Will he wrap around? No, he doesn't. This could be a 3k in the end. A 2k would have been amazing already for Archon, but they might just blunder it. But Everyday Pizza somehow loses Ryan here, and Mr. Next Time is now in position to pick up Nova if push comes to shove. He's trying to get Everyday Pizza here around it. It's not gonna land it, and he manages to land the double back. Also has to wait for the ability now. It's so close, Brian.
Everyday Pizza has just been so good with these dodges here. Actually makes it to the window as well. Nova is going to get picked up in the distance. Everyday Pizza runs past the hatch location. He is going to go down finally now. But please, Archon, just take the outs. You can't take hits against a killer that has a 3-second cooldown. I don't care how fresh Everyday Pizza is. You're just gonna keep getting bit by the dog. It's a 3-second cooldown. Just take the outs. Okay. They are gonna get the 2 survivors out the door. Mr. Next Time is out of there. And wait, Everyday Pizza almost gets to the hatch. Wait. Oh, just a couple feet away from the hatch there. They had been able to waste just a second longer. But still, extremely impressive performance from Archon. 2 outs against the Houndmaster. I mean, Everyday Pizza was lights out in those chases. I don't think a single redirect was hit onto him there. Really carrying his team to victory there in those chases, but not to discredit everybody else as well. When they got into the 3v1 there, it was like Ryan just couldn't hit his dog chase commands anymore. They were dodging out on everything, winning every 50-50, playing that TL wall in the middle of the map so well, making it down towards Shack, away from the generators being done, and it results in them getting a 2 out here. Very strong performance for this tiebreaker match.
9 stages on this first ever Houndmaster performance. I really want to say that 2 kills might not be enough here for Ryan, no matter how many stages he got in the end. It is 9 stages, 2 kills, so that is a good amount, considering only the 2 kill result. But if Everyday Pizza has a convincing early game here, it might just spell out the victory for Team Archon in the end, because that's what Ryan was sort of lacking, was this oppressive early game. He was able to bring it back mid-game, especially after that epic balanced landing fail that we experienced on main building there by Nova. But yeah, besides that, this is looking really tough for Rapture, and I did not expect Archon to be such a tough opponent against one of the much more experienced teams, especially since we've only seen Archon twice before, really, in DBDLeague. I mean, a couple of times. I'm just gonna call Scrim Nights being one segment and the Weekend Cup another, even though the Scrim Nights obviously multiple individual appearances. But yeah, both being relatively unsuccessful, only having recently 5-0'd Meadow in the Scrim Night we had right before Christmas. But them now pushing it this close with Rapture is not something I expected, and I would absolutely love an underdog team to make it out of the qualifiers and beat one of the teams that made it quite far in All Hallows League before.
Yeah, so it's all going to come down to Everyday Pizza here. He's gonna need that 10 stages here to win the game for his team. And I mean, he's been playing insanely well on the killer all day today. Played every single killer for Archon here, and he's looking to bring it home with the 2nd Houndmaster game ever in DBDLeague. And honestly, knowing the strength of this killer and just the fact that Archon didn't ban this, Everyday Pizza is probably pretty good on the killer as well. This killer is very strong. I would have expected a 4K from the first match.
Yeah.
So
same.
I'm going to be expecting some sort of 4K from Everyday Pizza here. But I mean, nerves have to be high. This is the final set of the tiebreaker game. A tie in this set is extremely unlikely given the result that we got in the last trial. But it's really all going to come down to these chases from Everyday Pizza as we get ready for this trial. Not all the survivors are ready just yet, but you got to imagine their hearts are pounding out of their chests.
If Archon win this, we might just consider them for Season 10 even, in the upcoming tournament, or, well, it's gonna be a couple months, of course, but still, that's as planned as everybody could have expected. I'm not spoiling anything here. But yeah, once again, also wanted to comment on the aspect of having one variety killer on the team, because playing multiple different killers usually means that you've got impressively good game sense, which is going to translate over into every killer, even if you haven't played them before. But at that point, you can basically play them without their ability, and you're still gonna do well, because you've got that game sense aspect of it balancing it out. But I mean, some killers obviously need their ability to get downs, or every killer does, that's why they're there. But even if Everyday Pizza hasn't scrimmed with and practiced Houndmaster the past 3 years before she even came out, he'd still be able to get a decent result because we've seen him be consistent on every killer so far, except for the one outtake on Hillbilly, but that'll be pardoned considering the amount of impressive results he's been able to pull off so far in the other trials. And choking out Rapture is not an easy task at all, considering how promising they were in our All Hallows League, considering the names they carry as well, with their individual players, the individual skill we see here, all combined under this leadership by Ryan, an absolute OG who's been around for over 5 years, who's been on Team Quantum, Agony, and so on. Most people are not even going to know those names, but those were like the top teams back in the day, besides Oracle and Prestige and Felony. But yeah, super impressive to see such a newcomer being able to hold his head high against such an experienced roster. Also with Game Over coming back, whom we haven't seen in a while, or who hasn't played at least. He was signed up for tourneys, but he has hardly ever played. And now coming back here on the main roster, essentially, for Team Rapture, and struggling this badly against a newcomer is absolutely impressive, and just comes to show how much potential Everyday Pizza carries, despite his funky name maybe being sort of deceptive of his true intentions, and that is to cause an upset in DBDLeague. Such a friendly name, you wouldn't really expect it, but he is here to wipe the floor with whatever we throw at him, and it is super impressive to see how high he's holding him, or how he's been able to overcome so many challenges here so far. And the tournament is even young still too. This is only the second matchup we're seeing. We've still got qualifiers tomorrow, the next week Saturday and Sunday, and we're already this flabbergasted at one of the more unexpected teams, so we might just see a few more upsets with our upcoming teams that, considering out of the 70 applicants we got and the 24 we picked. Yeah, I'm just super excited, no matter how this Houndmaster set plays out as well. Everyday Pizza has been absolutely phenomenal this game, of this matchup so far.
Yeah, and that's crazy, Mathis. I only got Dead by Daylight a couple years ago, so I don't even know any of those names that you were saying, except for obviously Oracle, only because they, of course, reformed for All Hallows League.
Oh yeah, wow, but, wow. Come on, okay. Yeah, that's funny as well. Yeah, right. I didn't even consider that many people are going to have only that association. But yeah, that used to be the Zeno, Aaron, Nigel, Zonga team back then. Don't want to name every single player they had, but yeah. That was basically Zeno's main team before this.
Looks like there is a delay in the teams being ready. One player needed to take a short break for a valid reason. I'm sure chat knows what that means.
The loo!
That's what they call it over there in Europe, isn't it?
Well, it's pretty British, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, British.
I mean, there's not really another English-speaking country in Europe, so... Is there? No, there isn't.
Yeah, I mean it's good to have North American representation on the broadcast, because also when you were talking when you were saying something about Manchester City earlier, I was like, what does that even mean?
That's a reminder to you to stay humble.
Can you explain that? Can you explain that to me in baseball and hockey terms, maybe?
No, not at all. I think the only thing that I could say, the only team. Well, actually, I know a couple American football team. No, like what you would call soccer. I know a couple American soccer teams, but not a single American football like the one that you carry.
Okay, yeah. I mean that's fine, because I personally don't watch American football. I'm more of a hockey guy.
Okay.
Because I live way up north, close to Canada. I'm basically Canada light where I live, so hockey is huge here. But anyways,
fair in that case.
The teams are finally back in. We are finally connecting to the match, and this is it, Mathis. Tiebreaker, second set.
This is it.
Everything is on Everyday Pizza's shoulders here. Survivors of Rapture have to perform perfectly here. These chases have to be insane. And 10-stage win condition here for Everyday Pizza to complete the upset, win the tiebreaker. I mean, it all comes down to this.
Yeah, Everyday Pizza's waking up to action dust as he's got now his potentially last performance of this tournament as well, if it doesn't go according to plan. It is going to be a super tough last game. Nerves must be through the ceiling by now. And yeah, you're also looking at a very promising generic build, I almost want to say, with that eruption, or something more I would use in, if I play Nurse and Pubs, with that agitation pain res. Don't judge me, I'm bad on Nurse. Plus that eruption, so he really wants to get value out of those individual stages, hopefully. And as well as having something for endgame once the potential of the Scorchok runs out. Getting rid of that wall is going to be quintessential for the rest of the trial here. Trying to locate that first survivor, but it seems like they're stealthing it out a bit. I saw someone pushing down on that side that he's facing. Yep. But so far not really finding anyone.
Disgusting 4-gen here over by the main building side.
Would you like to see?
And first chase here coming out here onto Nazon. He's probably the balanced landing survivor. Yes, going up onto the hill. And I want to point out, Mathis, the teams seem to agree that these two add-ons are the best ones. Exact same add-ons pizza that we saw with Ryan. And I'm not sure why the dog didn't go over the pallet there.
Yeah. That was like timing a demo shred, really. But yeah, it's, I want to say, almost good for Everyday Pizza that Nazon decided to take that chase to Shaq, because now he's got rid of one of the strongest resources, as well as he's pushing his power radius into the generator side. But it seems like Fast is already making quick work of that 4-gen that you pointed out at the near main building here. They are currently doubling it. Game Over and Fasty are both on it. Ryan is trying to take control again over his Shack spot here on this side of the map with the hill generator, but we now see Game Over. We see two survivors rotating away from the killer. They're playing this extremely protectively. They really want to choke out Everyday Pizza with a slow but steady gen pressure, as Game Over is finally found here, and that will be an M1 finally on our first survivor.
And it looks like Everyday Pizza was frustrated that the search command did not go in the correct direction. Couldn't get the speed boost there, but still gets the M1 anyways with a good mind game. And here we see the counterplay. Game Over refusing to drop that pallet, afraid of the dog coming over with the vault. And yeah, now gonna just immediately pre-drop this one because the chase command hadn't come out just yet. Goes back to the pallet, gets the live, and makes distance. Very nicely done there from Game Over. He can't use Shack here, so he's gonna have to play the TL. And clock is ticking here, Mathis. This first down is taking quite a while. That's going to be 2 generators done with a third. Actually, Ryan gets grabbed off the generator by the dog, and Game Over finishes it in chase. Insane play from Rapture there, and that is what I mean when I say that so much of DBD is improv. Thinking on your feet, just crazy situations, so many variables, and yeah, that is going to be the first down finally coming out for Everyday Pizza. And that took way too long, Mathis. The survivors of Rapture are out to a lightning fast start.
Oh, he gets it in time. I was gonna say, if that's a pain res, then Everyday Pizza might be able to turn this around, because he has that 3-gen still around the main building, and a pain res inside of it. It's gonna be crucial. If he gets any down up there, then it's going to be a huge amount of regression exerted on our survivors. So Everyday Pizza still trying to get more information on our survivors. There's a lot of them down here. Tries to go for the connection here, but misses. Unfortunately, the dog is just going to vault and not get the hit onto Ryan. Basti currently marked. We see her in the corner here. Game Over. Still hooked right behind. I wouldn't be surprised. The Nazon never got pressured off of that generator, so he should just be back on it. Pretty sure that's what he just... No, he didn't pop it yet. But yeah, we see here the flick dog. Oh, does he get it? He gets it! So it's gonna be a trade with the pain res, so he does get the regression again. Game Over will make it out for now, but if he gets the dog back, he might just be able to grab onto him. That's just... Oh, he does get him. This might be terrible. Oh.
No, the dog latches on for much shorter time if there's endurance on the survivor. Game Over still had his borrowed time there. And he is going to go down once again. This isn't the decisive strike survivor. We've got 2 survivors on the ground right now. Ryan, though, going to get picked up, and they continue to have at least 1 survivor cranking generators here. Everyday Pizza needs to find some sort of snowball here if he wants to stay in this game. If he actually, they're going to be taking hits here. Ryan takes a hit. They're body blocking the hook, and Game Over is out. He wanted to put him back on the same pain res, and Game Over said, "Guys, I'm out with 2 hits." And his teammates came through for him. That is huge for Rapture. Big mistake by Everyday Pizza, greeting for that same hook. Mathis, it wouldn't have even been a pain.
Yeah, that may have just been it, because Nathan immediately went back to his generator that was so far progressed, and 3, 2, 1, regen gone! That might just spell out the victory for Rapture here, because the game over is only second stage now, considering that first hook or the second hook failed. The second attempt on that, or the first attempt to get to reclaim that hook position back behind main building, and now he's got a terrible position of 2 generators on main and the other right next to that hook. He may just stay close, but our survivors may be resetting, and if they do so successfully, Everyday Pizza loses all of the pressure he's been so eagerly working for. That double off main, yep. Probably just gonna spell it out right here if we don't see an absolute masterclass mechanically.
Yeah, nice 99 scroll burst there from Prion. Able to get to that filler pallet away from an unsafe double window. Gets the stun on the dog as well. And I mean, that's exactly what you need to see when a generator is being doubled in the distance. And it's that final generator as well. Game over. Still on the hook here. Ryan, the only one that can come for the save here, but honestly, Mathis, they are going to be perfectly fine with letting game over die.
Yeah, it's going to be another 10 seconds until game over perishes, and it's going to be another 5 seconds until that generator pops that they are currently doubling up. So at the exact same time as that generator pops, they will, or game over will also bite the dust. He needs to get an instantaneous down onto Ryan, which he does not manage to do so. He needs to get at least 3 people down. It doesn't look like it. He doesn't get the only forces locker, and that's going faster than out the gate. That's 6th stage result. And Archon, unfortunately, were not able to keep their consistency and bring it into this final set that maybe Ryan hooked and baited, but that is 2 survivors out the gate, both fresh, meaning Prion, you want to take it away?
Yeah, and that's going to be Rapture winning this series 3-2 in the tiebreaker. In the end, Mathis, the experience is going to come out on top over the upstart underdog team. It's unfortunate for Archon, but they can be proud of the way they played today. The way that they were able to take us to a tiebreaker. Very exciting games. We got to see the first ever Houndmaster set on DBDLeague. And maybe we saw that this killer isn't as easy as some people say that she is. Survivors of Rapture were extremely good at dodging away from that dog, pathing well to make sure that no redirect hits were coming in. And yeah, I'm very impressed with Rapture here. So I was correct in my prediction that they were going to win, just a little bit off on the score itself. But overall, great sets today. Rapture takes the victory in the qualifying rounds, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of this play from Rapture further in the tournament.